one of the hardest ones I've seen for a long time.
In those situations as well,
40
it's probably
minutes
best to
session.
not answer.
Supercars hot shots. This is there too.
good morning, gentlemen. And we can say the exact same thing to the gentleman that I'm standing here talking to, Earl Bamber. Welcome back to Bathurst. You've been away for a while. Does it feel any different?
No, it feels the same. It feels great to be back. I mean, it's one of the best tracks in the world. It's one of the places everyone wants to come race. So when Corvette asked me to come down, I was like, oh, hell yeah. To be honest, we're actually testing in Qatar this weekend with the Cadillac, and I didn't even really check the schedule. So when I realized it's the same weekend, I was like, come on, guys, you have to let me go. So it's really nice that they allow me to come down here and represent a different part of the brand, and it's really awesome to be here with JMR and Liqui and Simsy.
Yeah, and it's Simsy's first trip to the mountain. How do you get him ready for such a big event?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we were lucky enough that we could utilize the DIL in Charlotte. So Simsy and myself did a day in the DIL. We've got a full motion platform car of this rig of this car. So we were there an entire day, learned the mountain. Well, I relearned the mountain. It took me about 10 minutes of crashing before I could do a lap. And then Simsy had a day on there as well. So it's really good just to get acclimatized, but he's going to go out later in the session. I'm sure he'll be wide-eyed first time at the mountain.
This place, it's such a magical event to get to come here and race in the 12-hour. You're in your street clothes, effectively. You're waiting until it heats up in the afternoon. How difficult is it when the morning conditions are like this and you're trying to get a read on the car? This is not representative for the Bathurst we know.
No, I mean, it's not even 9 o'clock, so I don't work before 9. But no, it's cold, and the weather's conditions changing. Like a week ago, it was going to be 40 degrees. Now it looks like it's going to sort of be like this temperature for the race. So we've got a couple early morning sessions, and we've got one late afternoon one. So it's going to be really interesting to try to dial the car into the track conditions. And I think it's going to rubber up a lot. Like it was quite dirty yesterday when we walked the track, so I think it's going to really rubber in.
Everyone's been talking about the big deal between you racing against your own team. But the thing I'm more interested in, Corvette bringing such an effort to the mountain. Have you guys been given any orders to go out and try and get pole, try and put the thing on the headlines on Saturday?
I mean, we're here to win, right? That's what every single team in the pit lane comes here to do. So, you know, we're really excited to bring the Corvette here. You know, I did the first season with it when this car launched in GT3, and you know, to be here with Liqui and Simsy. Liqui was teammates in America with, and Alex is there. Like they're two world-class drivers as well. So it's awesome. It's awesome that JMR's also supported the effort to bring it here. We've got a lot of people from Corvette and from America. So you know, we really want to build a presence, and we want to be on the podium and hopefully the top step.
One of the best drivers yet to win the race overall. Good luck fixing that this week, Earl.
Thanks.
VR46 helmets down to sign, and old MotoGP memorabilia they must have picked up at Phillip Island back in the day. His level of popularity is remarkable, and his drive to succeed at this race is even better. Doesn't need to be here.
No.
Chose to be here, which I absolutely adore.
I think you can say the same for WRT as a whole, actually, Krill. So had a cracking start the season. To Garth's point earlier on, they were at the Dubai 24 Hours. That BMW Evo, which we're seeing here for the first time, that M4 GT3 Evo, at one stage, in fact, for a lot of the race, Garth, at the Dubai Autodrome, they were running 1, 2, 3, 4, the 2 WRT cars and the 2 Paladin cars, Darren Young's teams. They were running 1, 2,
They look very strong there, the BMWs. Very, very strong.
Yeah.
Great to see Lee Holdsworth at the top of the timing screen. He's gone purple, actually, on this lap as well. Getting a nice tow by one of the Mercs as he heads down Conrod Straight.
Just a smidge over 270k before the kick in an Audi R8 GT3 car, and look it up the inside. This is a great combo. Mark Sini, Lee Holdsworth, Dean Fiore. If you want a good espresso, head down there. And if you want a good laugh, most occasions, head down to the Hallmark Property Group side of the Melbourne Performance Centre Team MPC garage. They've been doing this race for a long time, dating all the way back to a Porsche back in the day, as Kai Allen goes quickest now in the Penrite Racing Mercedes AMG with a 2-minute 04.38 GT. But you've pointed out something.
I just want to point out the gap to second. It's currently 0.000.
Literally nothing. 204.385 for Allen and a 204.385 for Lee Holdsworth.
And a 204.46 for Jules Gounon, who now goes to the top. So top three only covered by 7/100ths of a second. 20 minutes into the first section of the weekend. If this is a little preview on what it's going to be like for the rest of the weekend, bring it on.
Welcome to Bathurst. What a season for Kai Allen. Last year in his rookie season in Supercars, finished 4th in the championship. That lad's got a future wherever he goes, hasn't he?
He certainly has, and he's done a very nice job in this car as well. He went over at the Dubai 24 with the Groves, and that car was run by Get Speed, and he was part of the driving roster with Jules Gounon, and certainly had his notebook out over the course of the whole weekend, because if there's anyone to learn how to drive a Mercedes GT3 car from, it's Jules Gounon. So came back very strong, did a one-day test with that car down at Phillip Island and was very fast. Very, very fast, very impressive. So only a small amount of GT3 driving for Kai, as a very young driver just starting out his professional journey, but look to see him doing a lot more GT stuff in the future.
There's an element of Brock Feeney about that, because Brock, when he got that opportunity in the 888 Merc here, had never driven a GT3 car and rolled in and ultimately put the thing on the front row. And we're like, oh, righto, okay. And he's since become one of the best local GT3 drivers, very successful in GT World Challenge Australia, and helped Brad Schumacher to the championship last year. So there's a bit of a vibe about that. It's a good squad too. The Groves have put together. Will Davison, 2-time Bathurst 1000 champ, a guy with a lot of starts in this race in GT cars as well. Back with that squad. He'll be enduro driver in the supercars, but good to see him there. And Brenton Grove, who, so they've gone the Kenny Habul route with this car, which is basically Brenton would be an AM driver if he was decided to race under his seating, but they've entered in the pro class, which they can do, but he will be up to the job. It's going to be a fascinating story to see how they play out. And there's 3 cars in the pro class going down that pathway. So the Penrite car, the Audi Team MPC entry with Brad Schumacher, who wants to have a crack at winning this race outright. Remember a couple of years ago, Liam Talbot finished on the podium in exactly the same scenario. And then, of course, the 75 Express Sun Energy One Racing Kenny Habul car with Jules Gounon, Lucas Stoles, and the unofficial mayor of Bathurst himself.
It's the Kenny strategy, I think.
Kenny rule. The Kenny rule.
We started rolling that last year in the race, because a lot of people, this was the only car that did it when they won it. And then everyone's like, that's a good idea. And it's effectively, to your point, the Kenny rule, the Kenny strategy.
And he actually affected a rule change in IMSA competition between the pro class in GT3 and the standard class, the GTD as it's called over there, GT Daytona, and they actually increased the amount of time that the non-pro driver has to do in the pro class at the Rolex 12 House this year. So that the Kenny rule is actually now a real rule.
Well, you and I had a phone call in 2023 when we went back to a fully pro race. It was Pro-Am all the way through in 2022, and the race came back after a little pause in 2021. And we looked at that and went, what are they doing? That should be a Pro-Am car. And then we found that little loophole in the rule book that said a bronze rank driver in the professional class has no minimum driver time. So it's down to the 2 pro drivers. Get the most out of them you possibly can. And there where the Kenny rule was born. I'm really pleased it's never been changed either, because it's opened up this opportunity for Brad Schumacher, for Liam Talbot a couple of years ago. Scored an outright podium finish against professional drivers. Chris Haase did a lot of the heavy lifting at the end of that race, but still, you've got to put yourself in the position. So I like that. It keeps the democratic nature of this race, where you can still rock up and have a go and dare to dream that maybe a Bathurst win is in your future, an outright win, not necessarily a class win. Cam Waters has gone quickest, by the way, in 222 Scott Taylor Motorsports Mercedes AMG at 204.1. A couple of tenths quicker than Brenton Grove, who's now behind the wheel of that Penrite car. Dean Fiore behind the wheel of the Hallmark Audi. Chris Haase, the man himself, is currently scored in 4th place, and Gunon, who punched out that 204.4 and immediately went to pit lane, is 5th. Marco Mappelli is here this weekend, the Italian, a factory Lambo driver, back with Wall Racing and Adrian Dietz' team in the brilliantly liveried Lamborghini Huracan Evo GT3. Valentino Rossi's behind the wheel of car 46. Then it's Kay Quinn. Now, we're going to have to work out a system here, whether it's Clark or Kent. I'm actually going to work on that, because that one's just popped up in the back of my mind. Fontana and Campbell rounding out in the top 10. We can go back down to pit lane and say good morning to Shea Adam once again.
I've actually found a warm garage, guys, so I'm going to hide out here for a little bit. And that's because the Ford Mustang GT3 was just in having some checks done to this beautiful blue number 65 machine. And 2 of the drivers were standing around watching the work being done. One of them, hello, Christopher Mees. How are you, my friend?
Very good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Welcome back to the mountain. Is this your first time racing here, not in a car that we've long associated you with, but this time in a Ford?
You're 100% correct. First time here with the Ford Mustang GT3, so yeah, really looking forward and really happy to be here.
Is it strange to come here and be garaged so much further down towards pit in than we're used to seeing you?
Actually, I think it's good, because the pit lane here is flat, so we have no issues with rolling backwards or forward, so I think it's pretty good for us.
We didn't expect the weather to be like this, where we would need sweaters. How is that affecting the way that you guys have on your setup for the Ford?
Well, we don't have a setup really yet, right? We have no baseline. We have never been here with the car, so actually for us it doesn't really matter. Obviously the colder the better in general for race cars, so I think everything is set up for a quick weekend.
You didn't learn anything in the sim to put on the car to take it off the truck, so to speak?
Well, obviously, yeah, we did, but once you come to the real track, you never know if it really works, so we just need to find our baseline now and where we're all happy with, and then fine-tune it.
With you, Brock Feeney, and Dennis Olsen in the car, it's 3 guys who know how to win at the mountain. Do you feel like your odds are maybe a little bit better than somebody else bringing in a brand new race car?
Well, I hope so. I hope that's why Ford has chosen us. Obviously, yeah, I think experience here is quite important. The sessions are very short. Drive time is very limited. So, yeah, let's see how it goes.
With effectively only 80 minutes of practice today for your car, how critical is it to try and get as many laps as you can?
It's very critical. I mean, luckily so far there was no red flag. We were expecting a few of them during the day, or at least during the weekend. So the more laps we get, the better it is.
Is there anything that translates to the car that you've learned over a course of IMSA racing that now helps you out here?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, we know the car inside out now. It's a pre-Evo car, so we have all the setups from last year, from IMSA, but also from GT World Challenge, where HRT is racing usually. So we try to combine the best, and so far I think it's going well for the first time out on track.
It's definitely one of the best looking cars on track. Good luck.
Thank you, thank you.
Chris Mees chatting to Shea Adam. Chris, the most experienced international driver in the history of the Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour double winner, a guy that you know very well, Garth Tander, and at Challenge Bathurst a couple of years ago, traded some very, very fast lap times in an unrestricted Audi R8. Great to have him back in what is a really strong combination of the Ford Mustang.
It certainly is, and he has a huge amount of experience here in particular. But
Also in Australia, so understands the racing conditions. He did a couple of years of Australian GT. I was his teammate 1 year, and we had a lot of fun racing against each other in the championship, but also here at the 12 hour. I think we did 3 or 4 of them together. His nickname is Mombat, M-O-M-B-A-T.
Explain that.
Because that's what he thought the pronunciation was for a wombat. So the German, Australian accents got a little bit mixed up, and he was calling him Mombats for a while. So Chris himself is quite small and quite stocky, a lot like a wombat, so he got the nickname Mombat. So I don't know if they carried over to Ford, so I might go down to the Ford garage this weekend and just
word them up.
Speak to the HRT team and just say you need to put a little sticker of wombat on the car.
Needs to be the logo on there next to his next to his name on the head.
1 year where it was Christopher Mies, Christopher Haase and myself sharing the car. So we had, and Haase in German is rabbit.
Yep.
So we had a picture of a wombat, a rabbit and a kangaroo on the car. It was actually quite cool. Germans had no idea what was going on, but the good old Australian sense of humour was in full swing at Melbourne Performance Centre that year.
Chris is one of those guys who behind the wheel is an absolute demon, but out of the car, just such a lovely bloke.
Very chill.
Quiet, very softly spoken. What he says is worth listening to, but he completely changes when he gets in the car. It's incredible.
He's an animal in the car. You know, when wombats are hungry and they're aggressive.
Oh yeah,
that's him.
If they need to get through you to get a feed, they are going. Absolutely. Watching down at Penrite Racing, so Will Davison and Kai Allen just watching on. Their car currently in third. Mostert behind the wheel of the 222. Alex Peroni's done a nice job in the BRM, car number 268. That's the ACMF Audi R8. So he's gone second at 204.16, so 5 thousandths of a second behind Mostert. And Grove next. Charles Viet just put the 32 car in a personal best lap up to 7th position at the 204.5 and is going on with that as well. And it's Marco Mappelli, Rossi, and one of the 2 K Quins behind the wheel of car 101. It's a lap time that Ryder did at the start of the session.
It's a mega first sector by Wirtz in the BMW. It's 4 tenths up on anything else we'd seen to that point. So if he carries on with that one, it's predicting to be a low 3, so that'll be significant. The fastest lap time from this session last year, interestingly, was Augusto Farfus, I think. Oh no, it was actually Kelvin van der Linde, who did a 2:02.9, so fastest right now is a 4:1. So that lap time by the BMW last year was done on lap 6, so it would have been done by now, effectively, in this session, if they were going to match it. So Wirtz now pressing on, and it's still looking like it could be a low 3, so we'll keep an eye on that one as we track Brenton Grove in the Penrite Mercedes. Brenton was also over at the Dubai 24, so he's got plenty of laps already this year. Had 5 drivers in the car there at that race, and Chris Lulham was part of that with Jules Gounon, and both those drivers end up this year will be driving for Max Verstappen's new GT3 Mercedes team in GT World Challenge in Europe. So it was interesting to get their take on things, and Brenton as well had the notebook out, taking notes from those guys, as you would.
I had a long chat with Chris Lulham in the lane. I did more work down in the lane than the booth in the 24. Really enjoyed it, and another softly spoken lad, but my goodness me, has he come on from the world of virtual racing,
from the sim world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, Kai Allen's a very gun sim operator and runs the sim at Grove Racing for all the engineers and everything. And he said he got as much out of talking to Chris about the sim stuff.
I bet he
did getting out of Jules talking about the real world, IRL stuff in real world. So in real life,
of the term.
It's fascinating to see where motorsport's heading with that stuff, with the sim drivers coming into the real world, and now we've seen a little bit of it in the past with the Nissan program, but now it's starting to actually get real crossover.
That lap from Vietz was good enough to put the BMW quicker, so first into the 3s so far this weekend, 2 tenths quicker than the best lap set a little bit earlier in the session by Cam Waters in the 222 at 204.1. Here's the 46. It is Valentino Rossi behind the wheel. Gave up a couple of seconds in the middle sector, having set a personal best first, but the BMW looks handy early on. So Vietz Mostert behind the wheel of the 222, which is once again a great program. So out Lowndes in Mostert in that car this year. Cam Waters and Thomas Randall remain the other two drivers, and that squad raising funds once again for Prostate Cancer Foundation of Australia, which is the official charity. They've drafted in Barry Ryan from Erebus Motorsport to call some of the shots behind the scene. Ashley Seward's race team is preparing and running the car for Scott Taylor once again. It's a very strong combination, and Scott Taylor came out when they announced this program at the end of last year and said, I want to win this race with Aussie drivers as an Aussie team. I want to beat the Europeans at their own game and the Asians at their own game. So he's thrown everyone at it, and arguably one of the better GT3 drivers we've had from here in the form of Chaz Mostert. Park the supercar success, he is unbelievable in a GT3 car. So they've got all the cards stacked nicely for this one. It's a very, very strong program this year.
It's a curious team, that one, for me, because, I mean, for our supercar followers, you've got Barry Ryan from Erebus running the show, effectively, on behalf of Ashley Seward's team. You've got Chaz Mostert. And if they don't start Chaz Mostert in that car, there's something wrong with him, because his first stints at Bathurst over the years have been exceptional. Cam Waters from Tickford and Thomas Randall from Tickford. So 3 supercars teams represented in this one entry. So fascinating to see how that goes. And then they've all got to race against each other next weekend when we go to Sydney Motorsport Park. So the friendship's only got a 3-day shelf life, and then they go back to being enemies again.
As they're leaving on Sunday night, do you think they'll be blocking each other getting out of the car?
Nah, I think it'll last till Monday. They'll probably have a beer together on Sunday night after the race, and then
coffee at Crema in the morning.
Resume hostilities on Monday morning.
On the drive home over the Blue Mountains. By the time they get back down to Penrith, gloves are off. Away they go for the supercar season, which starts next week.
Looking forward to that, Krillsy. My first opportunity to see supercars live at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Oh, you're hanging around for this one?
I've been away 6.5 weeks. I might
I've been
7.
tracking your movements. I've no doubt that you'll head down the mountain via a winery somewhere.
That might be a possibility.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
That might be a possibility. Yeah, there's been a few visits to sample the grape-based, ready-to-drink product
refreshment.
Yes, around here and in New Zealand. We're 35 minutes near enough, so just 5 minutes left of this quick-fire 40-minute session in the morning. It's BMW, Mercedes, Audi, Mercedes, Audi, Audi, Mercedes, Lamborghini, BMW, Audi in the top 10, which means the best of the Porsches is the number 79 car, the 911 with Fabio Babini behind the wheel. And as I say that, he gets bumped down even further as Ricardo Feller now takes a Porsche into the top 10.
Saw Matt Campbell this morning, actually, at the coffee shop. He was just getting his morning kickstart, and just was sort of yelling across the street, "How you feeling? You good? Car going to be fast? I hope so." So curious to see how he goes. Currently down in 13th is Matt. But we saw this from Porsche last year. They didn't feature early at all, and they just built and built and built. Even in qualifying, they weren't really in the game. But once we went racing,
they're much more competitive.
To come to the game.
There's a bit of Marnus Labuschagne about them. He'll be 20 off about 100 balls.
Fascinating.
And then he'll get his ton off about 150. So start slow, but we'll finish quickly. And that has been the Porsche strategy over the journey. Back with
Chaz Mostert probably goes more the Travis Head style.
Yeah, bang.
6 off the first ball.
Correct. Yeah, followed by a 4, and then probably another 6, and then he'll settle in. Yeah, good analogy. We'll keep those rolling over the course of the weekend for the cricket lovers amongst, especially if you're on the Australian side of that equation after the last summer. John, 4 and a bit minutes to go in this first of 4 40-minute practice sessions today. 2 for all comers, 2 for the bronze drivers only, and that will be practice number 2 and practice number 4. You catch all that coverage live. As always, lots of activity in and around the precinct here in the private residences and the campgrounds. That's up the top of Conrod Straight.
But how about the crowd? At 9 o'clock yesterday, when the gates were open for people to go in, there were queues like I've never seen before. The track to town, which we went down to, did some interviews there. You're going to hear our programme on that later on today on RS1. If you go to radiolemans.com, all of the special programmes from here at the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 Hours. I've never seen so many people on the street on the way down. This is Friday. This is Friday. It was raining yesterday, track to town, and it was still the biggest set of onlookers all the way down to the centre of Bathurst.
For me, the measure is the campground in the back of the paddock. And driving in this morning through the back of the paddock, as you do, there was camping all the way up to the back of the campground in the paddock. And I don't remember seeing that at the Bathurst 12 hour before. I mean, we're used to seeing that at the 1000.
Correct.
But certainly for the 12 hour, it's usually only half full. And you're just seeing year on year that campground starting to get more and more condensed and more full. And this driving in this morning is like, oh, there's a lot more people here already, at John's point, Friday morning than we've seen in the past.
Incredible. And there was a lot more people here earlier in the week, even before they could get into the campgrounds. Some of the hotels, we were downtown, we got in here, Monday afternoon. And even then, I was bumping into people and saying hello to them. 2 GT4 cars for the battle here. Only takes 2 for a race, Krelsey.
Yeah, it does. Team New Zealand, Aston Martin Vantage GT4 and the Method Motorsport McLaren will work up that class. And then there's the 2 invitational class cars. So the V8-powered IRC GT, it's got the Camaro body shape on it, will be running with Axel Donaldson and Darren Curry and Danny Studdard, who actually owns the brand, behind the wheel this weekend. And the mighty KTM is back. David Crampton, having finally won the class last year after years and years and years of heartbreak and trying and disillusionment. They're back as the GWR Ram Motorsport Mercedes shortcuts at the top of the mountain.
That group of M car Mercedes, I think it's got a problem again.
Yeah,
it's rolling very gently across the top of the mountain.
I did get a message from the crew at Camp Shakedown at the entry to the chase. Drivers
That's
left.
the Richard Crail fan club, is it not?
Come to that in just a minute, actually, because you can take the Nicky, but they've done very, very good things with that over the last...
Richard Crail fan club.
Yeah, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah, the merch sales.
12 months or so. They were reporting that there was a quite notable scent of perhaps gearbox oil or diff oil or smoke coming out of that car when it went past, when we saw it with what looked to be a right rear puncture earlier on in the session. So not a brilliant start for the 888 car.
34 cars have turned laps, gentlemen, this morning in this first 40-minute session, which is about to come to an end. Let's head down to pit lane. Here, Adam, with more news from this early session.
Well, the 32 BMW has already come back into the garage. The Team WRT mechanics are hard at work on it. Kelvin Van der Linde, when Charles Verts got out of the car, you slapped his back like you just won the race. It's 2 consecutive sessions led for the 32, but about 12 months apart. How good is it to keep the car at the top of the charts?
It always feels good. I wouldn't say it feels like winning the race just yet, but it's always a nice confirmation for the boys that built up the car over winter to make sure that everything's running nicely. And obviously the confirmation of being in the mix is a great confirmation for us, but still a long way to go, as you know, this weekend. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
How did the car feel when you got back behind the wheel for the first time since becoming a Bathurst winner here?
Any race car feels great here at Bathurst, but particularly the BMW M4. I think yeah, it's a privilege to drive, as I say, every year, and so I enjoyed every lap. But yeah, now we're going to go into the thicker things and try and focus on the race. And I guess everyone's kind of on the same schedule. It's very limited on tyres, which is a very critical element here in this weekend. So I think everyone will be on their race planning for Sunday.
Well, limited on tires, limited on practice time today, only 80 minutes total for you guys. Is it a disadvantage that there's no bronze driver in the car, whereas some of your competition gets more track time?
I wouldn't say so. I think a lot of the drivers that come here, we know the cars. It's we even know the track by now. So yeah, it's just getting that groove and just getting the courage again to go across the top of the mountain. But that's dialed in within a couple of laps, and yeah, just enjoying the experience, right?
How were the emotions when you came into the track for the first time here, saw the podium, and remembered celebrating with your brother?
It's always special, but particularly from last year coming as defending champions, it's a privilege, like I say. But yeah, we want to make the most of it. We don't want to say, okay, we won it once and now it's time to let others have a turn. We want to make their lives difficult and try and defend that title.
No Sheldon here, but you got your brother from another mother. What's it like sharing a car with Jordan Pepper?
It's great because we have a very special connection. Throughout the years we shared an apartment, so you can imagine there's a very special connection that you have as teammates already. And yeah, I think it's just nice because we're very open with each other. There's no secrets in such a sense, so I'm going to try and get him up to speed in the BMW here and see how he cracks on.
Good luck this weekend.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Still have that 32 BMW P1, John. It likes being there.
Yeah, and they've decided to stick a little while before the checkered flag came out, which it has now. So it's the number 15 Volante Rossi Motorsport McLaren that has not turned a lap. Silence from this end of the room as I was quickly running through to find out which one was
much harder this year with so many more cars to work out which one hasn't run.
So.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. That car group of young, up-and-coming drivers from this part of the world, and they added in JB Simonau to that squad just late in the piece to add a fourth driver to that silver class entry. So we'll get to the bottom of why that car has not run. Final few laps being completed. That's the Tsunami RT San Marino flagged squad. Great to have them here with the wildest livery of anything that's rocked up this week.
It reminds me, and this is very specific to the northeast of England, it reminds me when we launched the Newcastle Metro way back, the light rail system, the seats were that kind of multicolour for a while. Quite a lot of public transport.
Yes, actually, that fact.
I think that we had one like that in WA.
Yeah, I think the Melbourne Metro's got a bit of that going on too.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I reckon that's where they got the inspiration from, though, John.
I don't know. We've got to ask them. It's like they threw every colour at it and said, there you go.
It's those artists that get a paintbrush and throw it at the board and somehow manage to sell that artwork for $1 million. If I did that, I'd pay them money to take it. I don't know how that works.
It's about the person who explains what you should be seeing when you're looking at it. That's the clever.
Wow.
That's the clever part.
That's why it's worth so much. I see a Porsche 911 and go, that's fantastic. So practice done and dusted, JH, at the end of the session. Yeah.
40 minutes clean. That's great news for all the teams. We do not have a lot of track time here, so they'll have been working through their programme, Garth.
Yep, certainly were. And even because there's only 40 minutes in this session, you could see as the cars were coming to pit lane after the checkered flag, they weren't rolling in gently.
No.
Practicing pit entries, understanding, they're working out their timing, so their pit lane entry time, their pit lane traversing time, doing all that work, because it's not like you've got 4 hours of practice to gather all the data you need. So even after the session's finished, still making sure they're gathering all the information required.
So that time, Krilsey, held up for Charles Weerts ahead of Chaz Mostert's Mercedes, the 222 Scott Taylor Motorsport car, and then an Audi and a Porsche. So we've got 4 different manufacturers in the top 10. Steve Brooks was last at the wheel of the Pro-Am leader. That's the Team BRM Audi. Dean Fiore in the Bro. We haven't talked about that either. The PAM, the Pro, and the Pro.
Bro class. Interesting to note Matt Campbell right at the very end as the local wildlife watches on. Morning to the team at Camp Shakedown as well. Matt Campbell right at the end. 17 laps completed for the Absolute Racing car number 911. Most of any car in the session, and right on their final lap up to 4th place. So it took him a while to get the eye in the Porsche.
Bringing through the Marnus Labuschagne comparison starting to
Labuschagne, isn't it?
Labuschagne.
It's not how the commentators say it.
Weerts, Mostert, Brooks, Campbell, Grove, the top 5 cars at the end of that one with the Hallmark Audi in 6th. Then Will Brown was behind the wheel of the 55 Audi in 7th position. Lucas Stoles, the time set by Gilles Gounon in 75. Ricky Feller was behind the wheel of the 61 car right at the end. And the Lamborghini with Marco Mappelli, who did a bulk of the driving in that session at a 2:04.7, rounding out the top 10. All of those cars covered by less than 1 second. That's going to get a whole lot closer, John, as this day rolls on and we build up to qualifying tomorrow here at Mount Panorama. But the next session will be a bronze-only session at 11 o'clock local time. So they've got 90 minutes to debrief, unpick the data from that session and work out how it's going to play out when they roll back out later on this morning.
Don't forget, if you want to join the conversation, use the hashtag B12HR. And if you want to get in touch, it's at RSL_studio. That brings you in. Thank you to all that have done that. For those of you here at the circuit, don't go too far away. We've got plenty of action for you on the track. For those of you further afield, either watching on YouTube or listening on RS1, on RS1, we have some more Bathurst content coming for you. As we say, for the moment, a fond farewell to you. Adieu, if not goodbye, as we are on Fast Friday. It's practice day here for the 2026 Meguiar's Bathurst 12 Hours.
The longest running one-make series in the world, Ferrari Challenge, is back at Mount Panorama for their second year running here in this part of the world, and it's going to be another brilliant weekend to start off their season at 2026. Ferrari Challenge Australasia, practice number 2 of the weekend. We've got 30 minutes coming up, and it's going to be a fast and frenetic session from what we saw earlier on this morning. Now, of course, we know this place very well. 3 hours west of Sydney, you find Mount Panorama, a 6.2 kilometre racetrack of pure driving genius. And for these Ferrari Challenge cars this weekend, we'll see top speeds in excess of 300 kilometres an hour. And of course, the elevation change we speak of so much here at this particular place, over 170 metres from the bottom to the top of this racetrack. 23 turns in total. And over the course of this weekend, we're going to have 30 minutes for our races here this weekend. 2 lots of them. In fact, Brian van der Wacker here in commentary. Renato Liberto, who is the voice of Ferrari Challenge Australasia, joins me here this weekend. Looking forward to it, mate. What a glorious sight we've got here this morning.
It's always lovely to be back here at Bathurst. It's, you know, globally recognised. Obviously, a lot of drivers from around the world want to come here and race, and we're very fortunate to be able to bring a whole bunch of Ferraris here to enjoy as well.
Another strong field for season 2026. We've got 14 here this weekend to come and play at this wonderful racetrack. And from what we've already seen in season 2025, it's going to be a really strong contest, you've got to say, this year between Antoine Gattani and Enzo Cheng, because the news throughout the off-season is that Enzo Cheng is stepping up from Copper Shell into the main Pirelli class this weekend.
That's right, and I mean, already we've seen in FP1 this morning that those two have really stepped the pace up, but what's so great about the series as well is bringing other drivers in from different regions. Rick Armstrong from NZ, a guy who's very experienced racer over there, has come in this morning and thrown his car right up the top of the timesheets with Enzo and Antoine. So it's those two had their own little sort of battle planned, but all of a sudden Rick's turned up and sort of spoiled the party a little bit. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how the track's revolving, how their times drop as well over the course of the morning.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned track, because when they were out there first thing this morning, incidentally, the track temperature was around about 16 degrees. The ambient temperature was in fact 13. And then you fast forward to now, it's gone up to 22 degrees as well. So track conditions starting to come towards these drivers here this weekend as well. But we mentioned Antoine Gattani. What an incredible season 2025 he had. Out of most of the events that he competed in, he won, except for that final round at the bend when Enzo actually got the better of him.
That's right. Enzo was a bit sort of slow to start the year. Like he obviously had the potential there at the start of the year, but just, I guess, maybe lacked a bit of confidence. But as his confidence grew, he really sort of not only sort of set the timesheets on fire, but in the races he was attacking and taking outright wins, which was fantastic to see. And that's, at that point we knew he was ready to graduate up into the main game with us. But we knew he always had the pace, and I think the key thing with those two guys is that they're now going to be racing for the same trophy every time they go out. They're not going to be sharing podiums, they're going to be competing against each other, so it's really going to push them.
Let's break it down for people that are new to the series, because there's a number of different stepping stones, isn't there, in order to sort of reach this venue, because you've got to start out at almost like a club level per se.
That's right. We actually have something called Club Challenge, which is the same race cars, the same full specification race cars, but it really is a learning program. We have our own sort of driver trainers and coaches and engineers that we work with them to develop them from driving their Ferrari road car on track to learning to drive, you know, a high downforce slick GT car on a racetrack. And then once they've got the I know how to drive a car bit figured out, we then have to sort of mentor them into becoming a racing driver, helping them get signatures on their licenses, and then bringing them to places like this to race. You know, for a round one to be at Bathurst each year, it's a bit daunting for me as part of the category administrators, but where else would you want to bring the cars to sort of showcase, you know, a category? Bathurst is it.
And it's good to sometimes see that progression as well, because when the teams and the drivers were here 12 months ago, for some of the drivers, it was really their first car race. So in order to see that progression now for some of them 12 months on, is going to be something that I think you will probably take great pride in throughout the course of season 2026.
That's right. And you know, again, I mentioned our sort of coaching team. We've got some really experienced racing drivers working with our with us as coaches. We all take a huge amount of pride in developing these drivers, and everyone's got different goals. Some people just want to finish. Some people are just here for fun. We've got 2 or 3 guys last year that just wanted to do it together as a group. And then you've got guys like Enzo Cheng there on screen in the 17 car who are there to win races, you know. So we've got different goals for people within the category. But certainly, you know, everyone just wants to get out there and drive these amazing cars really fast, which is what we all want to do.
So while we look at Enzo Cheng here, he was the man that topped the opening practice session earlier on this morning. Well, like we mentioned, in quite cool conditions. It's quite blustery out there at the moment as well, which will be affecting the downforce of these cars, particularly across the top of Mount Panorama. It was a 2-minute 12.6 from what we saw from Enzo this morning. I was actually watching down at Meguiar's Murray's Corner earlier on this morning, and he was balked by traffic heading into the last corner, so potentially there was more time in it, maybe even a 2-minute 11 from Enzo. Incidentally as well, the times that we saw here from 12 months ago, the qualifying time in the end for qualifying race number 1 was a 2-minute 8. It was a 2-minute 7 by the time they got to qualifying session number 2. So that's going to be the Hollywood number that we'll watch out for throughout the course of this weekend.
And the big thing that I mentioned before with Enzo and his sort of confidence, I guess, at round 1, I've done the same. I looked back at timing sheets from last year. Antoine was on pole in quali, but 1.6 seconds behind him was Enzo in P2. Flip that now to the morning session. Enzo's got the confidence to be in P1, and we've actually got Antoine 1.2 seconds off him. So he's really turned the tables on last year, you know, upside down. But as I mentioned, Rick there, we've got the car 2, Rick Armstrong from New Zealand. is really the cat amongst the pigeons. He's turned up and just jumped straight in between the two of them. And I think with Rick, he's raced here before, but about 10 years ago, he said, I think first time in the car, getting some miles, getting his eye back in at Bathurst as well. I think he's going to be one of the ones to really watch this weekend. I think he's going to be very, very quick.
When I was watching him in that early session this morning, you could see how he was just trying to get used to the car and the conditions. His first few laps were probably a little bit gentlemanly-like. He was a little bit slow, but then that pace really started to come on towards the end of the session. And he's done a lot of miles throughout our off-season because he was racing back in his homeland of New Zealand during our off-season and was very, very strong in the Porsche Endurance Trophy last year as well. Won that and then went on to win, of course, the GT New Zealand series over there throughout the course of summer in New Zealand as well. So he's got a lot of experience and he'll bring that here this weekend. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he's going to go in amongst that pecking order throughout the course of this weekend. Now, obviously, we've got the main class that we've got here, of course, the 296 Challenge cars, but we've also got the 488s in the mix this weekend too.
That's right, and that's our previous model. That's a twin-turbo V8 variant. It's a few years old now, but it's still a very, very fast car. Nearly 700 horsepower in the older car, 700 in the new 296 you see on screen now. But the easiest way for our viewers to sort of recognise the cars is the windscreen banner. That's probably the easiest visual. Seeing on screen now, our red windscreen banner is our sort of the premier category, the Trofeo Pirelli class, our more experienced, faster drivers. Our yellow band one, which is the 105 car we saw a moment ago, is our copper shell class. So our less experienced drivers, but still in the 296, exactly the same power output specification car. And lastly, our blue windscreen banners are the older, slightly different looking car, which is the 488. And that, for those around the track here, you can really hear that flat plane V8 as well. It really stands out amongst the field of these 6 cars, which is, for me, that's what I love to hear, is the old V8 Ferrari. And the thing I love about the new generation car as well is that it derives a lot of technology, even, for instance, from Formula One, where you've got an S-duct as well to help with that aerodynamic performance, particularly under brakes, where it settles the car when it pitches and rolls through the corner. Which is, for a track like Bathurst, is really quite important because we're seeing well over 300 k's an hour into the chase every lap in that car. So having that additional aero stability in the car when you're doing that big heavy brake into the chase is really important. But also it's making the car slipperier. So when you're doing that climb uphill, which is wide open throttle for a while, it makes the car slip through the air. So whilst it's got way more downforce than the 488, 18% more downforce in fact, it's actually a slipperier car through the air. So more power, slipperier, it's the perfect scenario for a race car. You did the wonderful job of taking me for a bit of a tour through the paddock yesterday. The thing that I loved was that it's all about the little 1%ers when you sign on. So you get your own locker, you get your own overalls as well, sometimes your own coach too. You guys go to a lot of measures to make sure that these guys have an incredible experience when they come and race with you. That's right. I mean, it is, Ferrari customers, the driving the car is the main bit, right? We want to make that the fun part, and all of the other bits that you do as a racing driver or a team owner, we don't want them to have to think about necessarily. So, we've got our own category management team that handle all the paperwork side of things for them. Obviously, mechanics and engineers to prepare the car. They can just turn up empty-handed and we can give them their race suit, their helmet, everything's ready to go, just say in their own locker. We've got our physio there this morning. A few people were getting a bit of a warm-up before FP2. But really want to make sure the drivers have got everything thought of, and we can really, no matter what level they're at, we can kind of, help them and nurture them into their racing program. And that's what it's all about, hopefully trying to see that progression possibly one day into GT3 categories as well. So let's just quickly run you through times in the early portion of this session. Antoine Gattani's already done a 209.5, so significantly faster than what we've seen this morning. We've got a little bit of UV now getting through onto the racetrack as well, so sun's starting to poke through the morning cloud here, which will elevate those track temperatures as well. Jim Pollicina, who we were just watching, has jumped up to position number 2 at a 2:11.2. Interesting to note, though, Rick Armstrong's just gone fastest to the first sector, so we might see that little margin out in top extend or improve at least for Rick. He's so far position number 4. When I had a look this morning, it was very much Gattani, Armstrong, Cheng, and probably Pollicina that were really
bunched up together in that first practice session, they're probably going to be the benchmark that we'll watch out for.
That's right, and then also just looking at that, now we've had Gaetani, Armstrong, Cheng just leapfrog Pollicino and Wilson that were setting quick time, so the track and the confidence is obviously getting to them now. Our first session this morning was very, very cool track temp, as you mentioned, but also where the first car was running at speed, so the track was quite dusty, everyone was saying. Over the top, they didn't have a lot of confidence in the front end of the car, and that's where, you know, a GT car around here, so much of the lap time is derived out of that middle sector, being able to commit at such high speed with high downforce.
It's a good point that you mentioned, because this really is a public bit of road for 350 odd days throughout the year. It is 60 km/h speed limit around here at Mount Panorama, and you can tackle it in your road car. It's incredible whenever you take guests at road car speeds around this particular place. They're blown away at the race car speeds that they can do across the top of the mountain. Particularly to note, I was going through some of the data this morning with some of the coaches, and they're saying 220 kph at the tipping point at Skyline. That's some serious commitment.
Yeah, and one of the things that's probably not immediately obvious as well, as a challenge car, we run the carbon ceramic braking package in this car, so they have incredible braking potential. But there is slight differences between the two. So the 296 we see on screen now has got a carbon ceramic plus or R package, which is a slightly different compound rotor and pad to give the cars a bit different feel. But they're actually a fly-by-wire brake pedal as well. So very much what Formula One has now, and that gives us flexibility with software and ABS programmings to make the car, depending on the driver, respond a little bit differently to the brake pedal. And in the 488 challenge, we still run a carbon ceramic package, but again, it's a different compounded package, but it's a more traditional pedal into a pedal box that goes into, you know, your reservoirs that way. So it's a slightly different feel for the two drivers, but the braking potential of these cars is staggering.
And when you mention the R variant of the rotor, it's also probably interesting to note that the longevity of that rotor is extended a lot more as well, because you were saying yesterday that some of these teams can get really a season out of a rotor.
And that's right, we were seeing that last year. So depending on the driver, you'll get obviously higher deg on the, or degradation on the pad. But we were seeing cars doing a full season on the rotors last year, and some of them are doing a couple of sets of pads across a season of racing. You know, and we're not talking about slow speeds either. We're saying, you know, here we're doing nearly 300 k's an hour already. We're seeing, I think I saw a 295 or 294 before, in that first part of the chase, before they're actually down the hill. So the cars take some stopping, and during the day, well, I think once the grip comes up a little bit more and they're carrying more speed into the chase, you will see the glowing front rotors on these cars, which is, you know, a spectacular photo opportunity for those guys with the big long lenses in the chase. It's awesome to see.
Let's quickly run through the format for this weekend. So we've got 2 practice sessions here this morning, and then we go into a qualifying and race format, which is separate. So we've got qualifying race 1 for race 1, and then we've got another qualifying session tomorrow for what is race 2. So it resets the grid, so there's no progressive format throughout the course of the weekend, which is, I think, probably a good thing to go about it, because if you have a bad race, you're not punished there for it in the next one.
Exactly, and also I said to find with that format in any category, the intensity of your races are a bit more, because you've got the fast guys are all together, and the groups are qualifying at their own pace, and the start of the race is then more exciting because of that. And what ties into that as well is we have a 2-set tyre bank effectively. So from FP1 and 2 now, they kind of open in what they can use, but from Quali 1, they get 2 sets of tyres that they can allocate and use as they wish.
Looking at Enzo Cheng here on screen, he's gone fast the first sector, a personal best to the second sector, so we'll see what he can do here as he jumps on the brakes down into the chase. Left-hander here, about 110 kph through the centre of the corner, back down to 4th gear. And he'll make his way down now into Meguiar's Murray's corner. Still 13 minutes left in the session. The time to beat at the moment at 2:09.5 as Cheng works his way through the final turn and now across the start-finish line, and does improve the lap time, albeit by 3/100ths of a second. He does a 2:09.502 now to go top of the timesheets.
And you can actually just hear on our audio here in the commentary box as well, Rick Armstrong there, the car in front of Enzo. Obviously Enzo's chasing him down, but you could actually hear the ABS chattering then on the front tyre as he was turning into turn 1. So Rick's clearly, you know, pushing that car a little bit more. And again, someone who hasn't done a lot of laps in this particular car, the 296, we've got adjustable traction and ABS. So he's probably starting to explore that, because there is some considerable time gains that can be made by optimising those settings in the car.
And that's a great thing about these cars as well, because they are in some regards a training car for some of the drivers as well. And you were running me through the traction control settings yesterday. So there's a TC1 traction control setting 1 and a TC2 traction control setting 2. And depending on what dial you switch, obviously therefore dictates how much traction control you put in and when you put it in as well.
That's right, and that's exactly how we explain it to them, Brian, is we say that, you know, this dial is for when you want it to do something and the other one is for how much it does when it kicks in. And it's a good learning tool for us at any level because we can make the car intervene very early and do a lot when it intervenes, like cut throttle, cut boost, those sort of things. But when they start to feel the tyre moving and the car move around, we can stay the same in terms of when it kicks in, but we can start making the car do less. So they feel more tyre, and then we can start toggling things back. And the more we obviously reduce that, the more in performance and lap time we can extract from the car and driver. But we never turn it all completely off. Same as in GT cars now. The systems are so unbelievably good that they are more consistent than a driver on every corner of every lap of every session they do, that we want to actually teach the drivers to use that technology, but as little as possible. And it really does make a difference. And things like that fly-by-wire brake is probably the difference between someone needing to leg press 130, 140 kilos to do a big stop and being maybe able to do 50 or 60 and still doing a big stop, because we can change the ABS setting to help with that.
And when you're a trainer per se in the passenger seat, you can bring up a map, is that right, to see where the traction control is coming in and if they can actually adjust it and how much effect that will have on the race?
Exactly, yeah. There's a big sort of light, if you like, in the dashboard that sort of grows and shrinks depending on what the traction control is doing at the time. So
like a driving chart?
Yeah, kind of exactly. A plate of pasta, pizza, whatever you're going to call it. It's very obvious on the dashboard, but not distracting, so that you can, when you get used to it, you can look at the windscreen, but your peripheral vision will pick that up happening. So you can really start to fine-tune that per corner like you would you see them do in Formula One.
Another big season, of course, coming up for Ferrari Challenge Australasia. We start the series here this weekend at Mount Panorama, and then in a couple of weeks' time, off to Phillip Island, the Bend Queensland Raceway. We'll round out the year at Sydney Motorsport Park as well. Great variation of tracks there for these drivers to get their hands on throughout the course of the year.
And over the last 4 years, we've done 3 years of Club Challenge and then the Ferrari Challenge first time last year. We've done all of those circuits before with the Club Challenge program. So we've got data for all the cars, we've got setups, we've got tyre knowledge. And for most of our drivers, they've all done a bulk number of laps there. So we're not turning up green necessarily. But it's a great mix, you know, obviously for these cars, the GT cars love places like the Bend, Sydney Motorsport Park, Phillip Island, because they're fast and flowing. But we've got quite a few drivers here representing our Brisbane and Gold Coast dealerships, so putting an event on in their home state is great because they immediately get a performance advantage because it's their home track. And, you know, QR was one of my tracks growing up I raced at. One of the things I love about it is the fact you can view the whole track from pit lane, effectively, of the corporate suite. But that round for us is actually going to be a standalone round as well. So we'll have Club Challenge and Ferrari Challenge running on the same weekend at the track with a whole bunch of dealer activities and track programs for customers in their road cars. So it really is our own little Ferrari event for the weekend. So anyone watching that wants to get to that round later in the year, keep an eye on their calendars because that will be more Ferrari than you can you can deal with.
And you mentioned it, you're going to lead me down that path. The dealerships play a big role in this particular class, along with a lot of the personnel that you have here this weekend. You're saying 90 staff for 14 cars, but it's a real dealership vibe. Explain how that works, because it's different compared to other forms of motorsport.
That's right. More traditional racing will be, you know, private teams that own the cars and obviously have, you know, full-time mechanics just from the race cars. But the majority of the mechanics working here this weekend prepping these cars are the guys who are servicing Ferraris and working for us in the dealerships, you know, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. We obviously add additional staff to them, which are motorsport sort of technicians that come and help at the race weekend. But all of the prep work and that's done is by the dealers. And we have a dealer trophy, so the dealer that the customer is basically representing, whether that's Brisbane, Gold Coast, Continental Cars in Auckland, they earn points in their own little sort of, you know, dealer championship, which is kind of cool for the year as well. And this weekend, we also have multiple dealers represented in that part, but also the dealer teams that are running the cars. We have MC Corsa, which is our Ferrari Sydney dealer, running 10 of the cars, and Zagami Autosport, which is our Ferrari Richmond, our Melbourne dealer, running 4 of the cars there. So, as you say, it's very different to other categories, and what it does mean is we do things like data sharing. At the end of every session, the fastest driver of each class, their data is shared to everyone else within that class. That's video and onboard telemetry of the car is available to be shared. So with the idea being that we are progressing and developing everyone as we go with that. If we find a unique setup change, it's shared amongst the cars in terms of that knowledge as we grow the category, you know, together. Yes, it's competitive. You know, last year we had Antoine and Enzo, as we spoke about, competing. Same applies this year. The same team is running those 2 cars. The same coach, Ben Porter, is coaching those 2 drivers with the same engineer, but they're competing against each other.
Enzo Cheng here coming across the line, the first 2:07 of the weekend, if you don't mind me saying, so bangs in that lap time, and only really a whisker away from the fastest lap that we've seen here for a Ferrari Challenge car in qualifying last year. So some quick times coming through already, a 2:07.9 then for Enzo Cheng. Gattani is positioned up at 2 from Policina, Armstrong and Wilson now the top 5, but again, first little throw up the dice for Enzo Cheng here in practice 2 as we get closer to qualifying this afternoon.
We were sort of, you know, I don't know what strategy they've gone out with tyres. They could be using a scrum set from before. They could be running greens, but I think at this stage, it'd be a bit of a waste of the performance window of the tyre. But myself and the coach has been chatting. We think there's probably a high 4, low 5 in these cars for these guys. You know, these guys as they sit. If we put, you know, a Liqui-Moly for a Ben Porter or Sam Brabham in, you know, coaches in the cars, we'd probably see a couple of seconds beyond that. But I hope today in qualifying, my dream would be to see a 5 up there for our drivers. That'd be a huge, you know, a couple of second improvement on their performance from last year, which is what we want to see, continual improvement of our drivers.
So in the corresponding session last year, it was basically a 2:08 flat, and that was even in qualifying 1. Of course, we've got an added practice session here this year as well, which certainly does help a lot of these drivers come up to grips with these cars. But I think for my mind as well, Ren, it's the year-on-year progression, because like we mentioned at the start, a lot of these drivers had never really been to this place, let alone driven a race car before, and now that second year of this category here in this part of the world, it's nice to see these drivers now with 12 months experience behind these cars really starting to piece together the laps, because as we know, there's no perfect lap, but in order to get these cars right and a good time, it takes a lot of manpower.
Absolutely, and you know, outside of the racing, there's testing, you know, there's test days we do, but a lot of the drivers spend time on the simulators as well. Quite often they'll do it with, the great thing about the internet now, you know, one of our drivers, David Trewern, is based up in Queensland. His coach is Lockie Manif, he's in the Southern Highlands in New South Wales. They do live coaching against each other on things like iRacing, you know, or Assetto Corsa on their sim. And that's an awesome way for them to not only learn to do a lap time in a car, but learn racecraft, you know, learn about sort of, you know, dealing with traffic and all those other things that usually you would have to jump on to a racetrack to do that. But you can learn some of that via a simulator, and with a coach on board supporting you in that as part of the learning program, it's a great way of sort of, I guess, accelerating that learning as well.
It's incredible how far that technology has come, and the scary thing is it continues to evolve as well and just get better over time. As we have a look at Rick Armstrong again as well, new this weekend of the category. In fact, when you look through the entire entry list really for this year, a lot of new faces when it comes to Ferrari Challenge Australasia, which is again another mark against the category to bring in new drivers into the series as well. 6, in fact, rookies into the class for this weekend. So it's going to be interesting to see how they will progress throughout the course this weekend, but what an incredible place to make your debut.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're going to be driving a car this fast, Bathurst is probably one of the last places you would want to necessarily dip the toe in, but at the same time, you know, it's one of the amazing things about Ferrari Challenge around the world is that it does give you access to tracks you wouldn't normally, you know, get to. In the past, we've done Asia Pac Series for Ferrari Challenge at the Grand Prix. Yep. This year, we've got Le Mans support category, which is just incredible opportunity. And these guys that you see on track here will have the opportunity to kind of pre-qualify, if you like, to be part of that challenge program there. and our main world final race, which this year is happening in Catalunya, is another awesome opportunity for our drivers to kind of, just tick some extra boxes in their bucket list as they're going through driving these amazing cars.
That's the thing, it's the places that you get to visit as part of the experience as well, as Armstrong brings it through the final turn. He's done a personal best to the first sector and the second sector, and a session best, if you don't mind, in the final sector to go back to the top of the timesheets with a 2:07.7. That is an extremely quick lap time in the early part of the weekend so far, getting close to that 2:05 that we spoke of, seen here last year. So Armstrong putting a marker against his name already as well to say, hey boys, I'm here and I'm ready to challenge with some of the leading contenders in the class. And that is a handsome lap time with 1 minute and 30 seconds remaining on the clock.
And it's interesting, I've been watching the time sheet. Rod Wilson currently sitting P4, so Rod's a very accomplished driver, has been around motorsport for a very long time, but he's also the team principal of the Zagami Autosport Group. So he runs the Melbourne team, but he's also driving one of their cars here this week. But what I have been watching for Rod, his lap times, second and a bit off the pace, but he's consistently the fastest car through the speed trap. Someone like Rod is probably looking at things like already looking at playing with wing angle, because he knows the car so well. He's trying to trim the car out early. He's consistently 3 to 4 k's an hour faster than the guys who are the 3 positions in front of him. So that may be giving them a little bit more pace through the middle sector, but he's definitely... Bathurst is a lot of straight section, right? So if you can dial the car in and tune the car on the low wing, you can make some cheap gains on the 2 straights here.
7 different settings on that rear wing that they can angle it to try and either improve downforce or create a little bit less drag as well. So that's something that they can play with, because there is a number of tools that they can adjust to the car in between sessions as well in order to try and improve that setup.
That's right. We don't have... compared to, say, a GT3 car that has a huge amount of, different springs, different shock absorber valvings and adjustments they can make. Because we're our control class, we do have a sort of more finite set of things we can change, but things like ride height adjustments, sway bar settings, they're not in-cabin adjustable, but they are manually adjustable in the pits. And then, of course, the wing as a tuning aid for the rest of that setup of the car is important. And probably the big thing at a track like this we've found is, for a 30-minute race, is managing that front tyre, making sure you don't sort of work that front tyre too hard, because that middle sector is so important. But if you're trying to get a move done, there's not many places to get a move done and make an advantage here, and up the top there is a couple of nice spots for that. So making sure that front tyre is managed well throughout the 30-minute session is important.
And typically Mount Panorama has been quite high in terms of tyre load, not so much tyre wear. A replay here on screen of cars coming through Meguiar's Murray's corner and just dropping off the right-hand side of the car and using all the exit ripple strip and then some to complete a lap and go across the line.
Our race director Anthony Jenkins mentioned in the briefing yesterday about track limits, and they said if all 4 wheels are off, you've exceeded track limits. I think that was Adnan there in the 88 car. Just exploring a little bit of where it needs to be, and that's about as much as you'd want to get. You'd want to get that car dirty this early in the weekend.
Well, even if you explore track limits there at the final turn, you're not going to get much of a gain out there, because there's grass on that exit ripple strip and you're in a world of trouble. So it was Rick Armstrong at the top of the timesheets in the end, a 2:07.7, a very strong lap time in the end compared to a 2:07.9 for Enzo Cheng in second, Gattani in third, from Wilson and Moore in position number 5. In fact, that's a really good effort then from Moore, of course, leading the Trofeo Pirelli 488 class in the end, so really mixing it with some of those leading contenders. Just outside of that, though, Jim Pollicina has done a personal best here, so there might be a few little improvements towards the back end of this session. He's just flying through the back end of the shot there as well, so we'll see what he can do here as he heads towards the final corner here, Meguiar's Murray's corner. Jim Pollicina 6th so far on the timesheets. He was up towards the pointy end in the early part of this session. We'll see if he can improve here this time by, and does, but only 1 spot, goes to position number 5 at a 2:09.2, and that will probably do it for the session. It just bumps more back to position 6. So far, though, we've had a pretty clean weekend. We only saw one intervention of the red flag in practice number 1 this morning, which was only for a few minutes. So really some good track time for these cars here this weekend as we lead into qualifying this afternoon.
And that's the big thing we impressed upon them is, let's not lose too much time in these 2 30-minute sessions. Use them as a slow build-up, and that's what we've seen, over the course of that 30 minutes, without people changing tyres to sort of get some quick time there. We've just seen those times consistently dropping for everyone over the course of that session, which is what we want to see. And obviously when they bolt those new set of tyres on as part of their bank for quali, then that'll be the green tyre run, and we're hopeful, obviously, between now and quali, we get a bit of extra rubber down from the other categories to sort of help bring the track to life. The temperature's going to come up a little bit as well, we hope, and we should see those times. We haven't sort of got a bet going, but I reckon we're going to see something with a 5 in it.
Right.
It's going to be pretty competitive, I think.
A 5, you've heard it from Ren straight away. So looking forward to it. The wind has picked up here at Mount Panorama on this Friday morning. Hope you're enjoying the action. Of course, we've got another important session for the Bathurst 12-hour cars. The bronze driver-only session coming up next. Hope you're enjoying it. This is the Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour.
It all happens quickly on Friday at the Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour. Welcome back to our live coverage from the mountain as we get set for practice number 2. Another 40-minute hit out, this one for the bronze drivers only in GT3 cars. The invitational class cars and GT4 can also run in this session. Richard Craill, Garth Tander, John Hindhoff with you, and Shay Adam will be in the pit lane for us over the next 40 minutes as we continue our journey, our build over Friday. And I love the way this event, gentlemen, gathers momentum across the day, and it builds and builds, and then we get into practice sessions tomorrow, which are an hour long, so more time. Practice 6 is important because it sets the split for qualifying 1 and qualifying 2, and then we build our way up to the Pirelli pole battle on Saturday afternoon, and then of course the race start on Sunday morning. So this is an important session, Garth, for the bronze drivers to get some laps, get some miles, and get comfortable at Mount Panorama ahead of a long weekend where these guys are often under a fair amount of pressure.
Yeah, I would have said the vast majority of these drivers, this will be the first lap they've done of the weekend as they roll out for the first of 2 bronze sessions. Mount Panorama needs no introduction. 6.214 kilometres of the best stretch of tarmac you'll find anywhere in the world.
How many laps you done round here?
Oh, I don't know, but it'd be in the thousands now. What was it, 27 1,000s, a couple of 12 hours and a couple of 24 hours. So yeah, a lap or 2 around here, but it is a magnificent bit of racetrack, and all of our international visitors that come here every year to this race will put this racetrack in their top 5.
Yeah, and speak to Jules Gounon about this place, and he gives it a more ringing endorsement than any international I have ever talked to, and his opinion matters more than many of them because he is one of the best in the world. For timing purposes, we will refer to those 3 sectors. The first one up to the run up the hill to Reed Park. The second sector is 30 seconds on a push lap across the top. It's all the unbelievable commitment stuff right where we're looking at now across the Walter J. McPhillamy Park, and then on to Brock Skyline, and then the dive down the hill towards the elbow. The final sector, it's all flat out, but with 2 of the most important braking points on the circuit as well at the end of the chase and then into the final corner. So that's the circuit, that's the scene. 40 minutes on the clock. A little bit of housekeeping. Went down and had a chat to the Volante Rosso crew, Garth and John, after practice 1, and the only one of the 35 cars that are entered this weekend to not complete a lap was their McLaren 720S GT3. They had a gearbox issue, said they ran the car up last night on the stands. They often get the car up to get gearbox temperature up and make sure everything's working. They'll go through the gears, the rear wheel's spinning. Last night, absolutely fine. This morning, no bueno, no gears. So they've been working on that. They feel like it's fixed. Now, that car cannot run in this session. They've got silver class drivers. They're confident that they'll be out for practice number 3 a little bit later on this afternoon. And then they're going to hope to try and get some dispensation for their younger drivers to get some laps in the 4th practice session this afternoon, which is a bronze driver having missed that first session. That'll be up to race control to manage that. So hopefully we see the McLaren back out there this afternoon. But the last thing you want when you roll into a big enduro at this place, Garth Tander, is to be on the sidelines in that first practice session.
Well, there's so little opportunity for practice laps this weekend. We talk about for the Pro and the Pro-Am cars only getting 80 minutes today and then a couple of 1 hours tomorrow. Then that's it. You're into qualifying and go racing. So when you've got a new car to the country and new car to the team at Volante Rosso, the McLaren 720, you need as many miles as you can get. They shook the car down at Queensland Raceway, and that's it. And Queensland Raceway and Mount Panorama are the same in the fact that, yes, they're racetracks and they start and they finish, but other than that, you learn nothing at Queensland Raceway that's relevant for Bathurst. So, yeah, they needed those 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's it. So, understanding the car and what it needs, missing those 40 minutes, and for the drivers, you know, they've got a driver that's never been here before, a driver that's never driven a GT3 car before, and so any miles is gold. So to miss out on that's, yeah, real issue.
So they've got some work to do and working on their car, and we'll bring you up to speed with their story as the day was GMR, the Asian team flagged out of Hong Kong that's been here for so many years and have challenged for race victories. They had a really challenging opening practice session as well with their Mercedes AMG. We saw them coming back into the lane with a puncture, among other dramas. So That is for the pro session a little bit later on. Practice 3 is for all drivers. Practice 4 is another bronze session at the end of the day as we continue and work through and learn some of the new names and the new faces that are taking part at Mount Panorama this weekend. And one of those is a couple of Porsches. So 5 Porsches here this weekend, which is exciting. And it's great to have high-class racing here for the first time. Danish flag team, they've got Anders Fjordbak and Keron Lee behind the wheel of this car, with their pro being Dorian Boccolacci, who is super fast and is going to be very exciting to watch. To bring us up to speed as we jump down into the Elf Oil pit lane, is Shea Adam.
And guys, you were talking about the advantage of having a bronze driver in this category, so I found one of the pro class cars that is out and running. Shukanon, you know how to win this race before. Kenny knows how to win this race. But what kind of an advantage is it today when you guys get literally double the track time of the other pro runners?
Double the track time. We get a bit more, that's clear. So it's good for Kenny, but it's also difficult because Kenny is carrying on our tires right now. So next session, we're going to have 25 laps plus on our tire compared to the other car. So it's always a trade versus track time to the running. But yeah, I love to be there with Kenny. Honestly, he's very impressive around the mountain. You need a big heart. He has a very big heart, and he's very good across the top and so on. So first laps for him, he's on live TV. Car looks good. Car felt good. So yeah, we get the groove in and see.
It's a new car as well. Princess, I believe, is what her name is for this one. How did it feel compared to the ones that you've driven and won here in the past?
So the Princess one was actually the first one in 2022. That was a very special car because normally Mercedes-AMG comes always with a roll cage that's gray. And for that race and for Kenny, they made an orange roll cage, which actually was cool. But in the morning hours, it was very hard to drive because the car was super reflective, the roll cage inside the car. And that car did new before Bathurst race back to the museum of Kenny. So that was the Princess one. But this one already did the Indianapolis, I think. Still very, very new. Car felt really good this morning. That's the strength of IMG also. I drive so many different cars, but you go in Australia, in France, in UK, and they all feel kind of the same, just different setup. But that's the German rigor, how do you say, their system is always very robust, and you always get the same feeling in the car, so that's very good.
You were driving against Kenny and against 75 Express at Daytona. How good is it to come home and be under the family banner again?
Yeah, it's very good. I was a bit sad to not be with Kenny, but it's the way with Mercedes. Sometimes you have to rotate between teams. So I wished him all the best. And of course, of course you want to win yourself. But when we retired, I was cheering for him, and they fell short by 2 seconds, which is quite frustrating. In 2017, I fell short by 2/10 with Christopher Mies at that time in GTD, and I remember the feeling standing in the podium and you see the 4 Rolex Daytona passing in front of you. You fight it for 24 hours, and there is just not for yourself. So Daytona is the race where in Bathurst you finish P2, you're happy, let's say, but in Daytona it's all for the win. So yeah.
Well, with 5 podiums here in your last 5 attempts, how badly do you want that other win? And how much do you think it will inspire Kenny that he didn't get the Rolex about a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, every time I come to this place, I have goosebumps. I've said it in many interviews because it's the truth. You arrive here this morning, first lap. I was lucky enough to arrive first in the mountain because I don't know, some cars were quite slow at the beginning. So I took the chance to enter first in the mountain, saying hi. And it's just, I just love this place. I rewatched the race we won. I see the emotion we've got. I still remember. And I had 2 very difficult years until now. A lot of bad luck, except in Bathurst actually, where I got my only podium nearly last year. So I really hope we can do something well. But once again, the mountain chose this year, so I hope she chooses us again.
We do too. Good luck, Sean.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you.
Shea Adam with 3-time Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour winner, Shukanon, who is one of the best there's ever been at this place. A bit to unpick from that chat, actually. The first and foremost is I love that Kenny names his cars, for starters, and that Princess has been retired. And that was the car. They damaged a chassis, so they had to lift that car out of the 6th floor where his museum is in Connecticut, lifted it down, shipping containered it up and sent it down under to race, and then it won. And then it got a podium the year after and a podium again last year. So he's elected to retire that car as well as the one that won in 2022 and has gone to the basically new chassis that Jules is correct, it raced the Indianapolis 8-hour Intercontinental GT Challenge round late last year, but that's the only running it's done, and then it was sent to Australia for this race.
Some good drivers out there, but Kenny should be among the top runners here. He is one of the best bronze drivers in the world. Yes, that car is a pro car, but Kenny is a bronze, and therefore that's why that car is allowed out. It is only the bronze-rated drivers that are allowed out in the sessions 2 and then the final session, session 4 this afternoon.
Kenny Habul was second in the corresponding session last year. So to your point, John, certainly one of the fastest bronze drivers anywhere in the world. Goes to Daytona, he's super strong there. He's very fast at Indianapolis. He's actually got to be a little bit careful, I think, sometimes, Kenny, that he could lose his bronze status.
Correct. He might get
keeps winning races, they will take it off you and elevate you to silver, and therefore you can't do these extra sessions.
I think because of when he started racing, in terms of an FIA rating, at least, he started racing and what actually Stefan Vendel from AMG Customer Racing, he calls AM drivers late starting professionals, which is a phrase that I've oft repeated because I like it so much better than gentleman drivers or non-pros or whatever. Late starting professionals, but I think because of when Kenny first started racing, that he can, unless he becomes a works paid driver, he can only ever be a bronze.
He's lucky. Actually, Kenny Habul started racing twice, actually, when he was young. He did the same year in Formula Ford that I did back in 1997. so Kenny was in the Formula Ford Championship. At that stage, the motorsport thing wasn't for him. He went off, became very successful in business, and now he gets to come back and enjoy himself, and it's great to see.
I'm not sure who that dates more. Sure. He did race. He raced Formula 3 actually for a time in Australia as well.
Australia.
Distinctly remember a fairly spectacular moment at Oran Park in a bright red car run by Piccola Scuderia that ended up launching through the air in the infield at that joint too.
Of course, Garth was very, very young.
Garth was extremely
still in short trousers.
Let's go with that.
Kenny rocked up at the circuit a couple of days ago. It flew into Bathurst International Airport, as it is this week. But he drove down into the paddock yesterday in a new toy that he's acquired that has horsepower in the thousands. I believe it's a Dodge Charger.
It is a Dodge Charger.
That is a beautiful custom hot rod car. You'd see it at the Summonat or something like that. It is a beautiful piece of kit that he's just acquired.
It's road legal, though.
It sounds like a top door slammer drag car idling down there. Big superchargers.
Oh, I think I heard that thing driving down the paddock. I thought it was one of the drift cars.
No, that's Kenny.
Kenny going to his house.
Yeah, well, he's been good enough to put it in the paddock on display this weekend for the fans here at Mount Panorama, which is awesome. Maxime Oostin, the Dutchman, 22 years of age, making his debut here at Mount Panorama, and he's a bronze driver in that he is inexperienced, but he will go up the ranks very quickly, you feel, because he's a young man who's already gained a lot of experience in GT World Challenge competition across Asia, across Europe, and in sprint and enduro racing, and has already won his class at the Nürburgring 24-hour as well, and was the silver AM class driver, Maxime, last year too in GT World Challenge Asia. So he's with Team KRC, which is a brand new squad with the BMW, the third of the M4 GT3s here this weekend. So Maxime's going to be quite quick at 205.3 already. Eduardo Barrichello, famous surname, is second in the number 27 Heart of Racing Mercedes AMG. And he's just punched out at 205.5. And Kerong Lee in the number 86 Porsche that we were just watching on screen is third quickest at 206.7. So there's some real talent here. The other driver worth talking about in this field is the car and driver currently fourth, Brad Schumacher. When it comes to Bathurst locals, it gets a little more local than he, because he lives just at the end of Pitt Straight. You can see his pit garage from the living room and the swimming pool. And he is the reigning GT World Challenge Australia champion. Wrapped up the title in an incredibly dramatic showdown at Hampton Downs in New Zealand late last year, with Brock Feeney sharing the driving duties. That's the car, Jamek Racing, Team MPC. The runners a pro entry this weekend. Brad's been a Pro-Am winner here. He's won all of the classes, Trophy, Am and Pro-Am in GT World Challenge Australia. The Bathurst 12-hour is the big box for him to tick. This is a massive life goal for him, just to run in the pro class, let alone have a crack at winning. And with 2024 Repco Supercars champion Will Brown and awesome former factory Audi ace Chris Haase alongside him, with the might of Team NPC behind them, they are in a good position. So Brad has a big job to do this weekend, but it's an exciting story and a reward for a guy who's tipped a whole lot into this sport and to making himself a better driver to compete with these pros.
It was almost the battle of the locals going on there, because just in front of Brett Schumacher and the Audi was Grant Denyer and that Lamborghini of Adrian Dietz, and Grant, Bathurst local as well. So those guys have done a few laps around here, probably not as many as they have, well, more on foot than probably in the race car as they start their motorsport. Well, Grant not full time, but living here, I know Grant runs around here a lot, does a lot of laps on feet.
What, is somebody chasing him?
Yeah, I'm not
That's
sure.
the only reason that I've been running around here. Dear me, that's a big key.
It's a mission running around here.
I've
done a lap or two running around here. It's
around here. I love the fact that Lamborghini are about to launch the Temerario. We'll see that at Sebring in IMSA competition in the middle of March. And here is that venerable Lamborghini in that classic red and white livery, still coming to Bathurst and still having a go. And going crazy for 3 class wins on the backs.
Yeah, which would be a great story. And the Heart of Racing by SPS team looking to defend their class victory in the bronze class last year as well. And that's actually just been flagged to me that Eduardo Barrichello, who is in 2nd position at the moment, is actually a silver ranked driver. However, there are dispensations given at this place for drivers that have never been here before to gain more experience. If they're silver ranked, they can run in the bronze session to get them laps. It's all about building up that experience and the quality of the field, which will ultimately, hopefully, pay off on Sunday with a cleaner race as more drivers get more laps and more experience at this very demanding racetrack.
Seeing some of your comments coming in at RSL_studio. Don't forget, use the hashtag B12HR. Drive the conversation, and as well as being a part of it. Thank you. Clearly some people just after midnight in the UK, just after 1 o'clock in the morning in Europe, who are joining us. East coast of the US tuning in as well, making this as ever a truly international race. So head down to Shay Adam, who's in the Elf-Oil pit lane.
Doing a little bit of snooping right now, because I heard you guys talking about cars that had some issues in the first practice session, including the 888 machine. That's the GMR Mercedes. There's no work going on this car right now. I've just walked by their garage, and it is very casual. There are actually other teams in the pit lane that are more worried about what's happening in their garages, including some of the Porsches, but in the Mercedes lands, it seems like everything that was troubling them for that first practice session has been cleared, and they're ready to go after lunch.
Thank you, Shay. Appreciate that. Danny Neal for pit lane. It's getting to the bottom of what was going on with GMR, one of our expected pro contenders. So they've now got a little bit of time until 2 o'clock local time this afternoon to turn that car around for the next all-in practice session. We're halfway through just about this second practice session at the Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour. Bronze drivers are on the racetrack now. We're looking at a couple of Mercedes AMGs and working their way past the Team New Zealand Aston Martin Vantage GT4. That car being run by Earl Bamber Motorsport. A little double operation for EBM because the Aston's based at pit entry and the Porsche's a long way down towards pit exit end of pit lane. So their operations are split. Ben Jenkins, who runs the Aussie arm of Earl Bamber Motorsport, is overseeing the Aston Martin side, and then they've got a lot of their Asian team working on the Porsche. So some logistical challenges that come with the nature of this race.
That'd be a mission, wouldn't it?
You get some steps up this weekend.
No problems getting your steps up each day.
Here's Kenny, currently 4th at a 2:06.6 and set that on his previous lap. Tony Ruan, went quickest last time by.
Just got past his front door there, hasn't he?
Yes, yeah, a little bit further up. He's actually expanded up there a little bit of late.
Has he?
A little bit more ground, perhaps, for Kenny up there.
He was in great form in the track to town. Told me his favourite pie shop in town as well.
You're on a bit of a global campaign for pies. At
pie hunting. I am pie hunting. I have embraced the Antipodean tradition of good pies. Started in New Zealand. I'm working my way through this area of the world as well now.
You're a tomato sauce man on your pie?
If it's a plain mince, then yes.
Oh.
If it's more fancy,
if it's a bit boutiquey,
if it's a bit more bougie, as Trailsy would say, then I like to actually taste the flavour. So it's a tough call. I do like sometimes a bit of brown sauce on a pie, but it's very pie dependent. That.
Okay. Brown sauce on a
I'm
pie,
not sure
though.
I can get around that. No.
Really?
No.
It was all going well until you brought that up, John. Brown sauce.
Brown sauce with mince. You see, that's bit of bit of Worcestershire. We've been told.
That's getting worse.
That came from the truck. Eh?
Mince on toast with a bit of Worcestershire sauce on the top.
Not sure about some of the feedback we're getting about that.
Cheese on toast as well, same thing. Does cheese have a place in a pie, though? There's the question.
Well, the Kiwis will make a very stout.
They're very strong.
Smoked cheese.
Let's talk about some car racing. It's great to have JMR here, two-car team, and with them come the Chevrolet Corvette Z06 GT3R for the first time to Mount Panorama. And the Princes, Prince Jeffrey and Prince Abu Ibrahim, will be behind the wheel, sharing this car with a couple of fast pros. This is a brand new chassis this weekend. It is a brand new Corvette that was flown specifically out for this race. So this is as much a shakedown as it is a practice session for JMR. Their pro car was very solid early on. A bit of a learning exercise for them today to get up to speed. They have been a very busy race team of late, competing in the Asian Le Mans Series, which only wrapped up last week in the Middle East.
Weren't they in Abu Dhabi last weekend?
They were. Yeah. They were. So the frequent flyers have been well looked after. A lot of Aussie input in this team. It's flagged from Johor, which is, if you're unfamiliar with the geography, it's basically the province right at the bottom end of Malaysia, just before the strait that crosses you across to Singapore. Beautiful part of the world. So they've got operations in all corners of the globe at the moment. But a lot of Aussie impact in the Bathurst 12-hour campaign this year, and a lot of ex-888 guys and girls are behind the scene there, actually.
It is slightly throwing me out that I'm looking at Corvettes that aren't bright yellow.
I can understand that.
Green and blue as well. We've got with DXDT in IMSA racing, and Tom Ferrier just released their new season's TF colour scheme for their cars. But I do have to do a slight double take. But I think it suits. I think that livery suits the car very well, and mid-engine cars go all right around here, Garth, and that's got plenty of grunt on it as well.
Yep. There's a lot of people thinking that the Corvette is very much a tool that can get the job done here at Mount Panorama because of its mid-engine configuration and its straight-line performance. So as long as you get the thing pointed in a straight line, leaving Forest Elbow and leaving turning one, heading up Mountain Straight, it's hard to pass across the top of the mountain. So you've only got to be there or thereabouts across the top and get the thing pointed and going in a straight line nicely. So a lot of people feeling like the Corvette could be strong, but given that car's never been here before, very much, you mentioned, I think, earlier, Kralsey, very much a data gathering exercise today, and I have no doubt that the data will go back to the GM Technical Centre in Charlotte, North Carolina overnight, and they'll be crunching the numbers, and the cars will come back a lot sharper tomorrow.
Well, the other element as well to these cars in the bronze class is that they've all got, for the most part, a pro driver in their ranks. So a driver that can compete with anybody in this grid at some point. And in that 99 car, for example, I would offer up Jordan Love as an example of that, as someone who could be quick enough if it comes to that Bathurst arm wrestle at the end. So sometimes the key for these cars is stay on the lead lap, circulate around, and then your class does not matter in the final hour of the race when you put your pro driver in. So if you can cling on, if you can stay there, if you play your safety cars right in this race, at the end of it, class doesn't matter, because the classes in this race are not based on car performance. They are based on the driver's experience behind the wheel and their level of experience. So when you put your pro driver in, the car doesn't know whether it's bronze or Pro-Am or pro.
And for those of you in the States who are used to IMSA racing, the classes aren't split here as you would have in GTD and GTD Pro in the States. So if we do get a neutralisation of the race, a safety car, we're not going to put all the pro cars at the front. They will line up behind the safety car for the restart, exactly how the race was neutralised. So the GT3 category looks like a whole single category. The classes within it are sub-classes. So, to Krelzy's point, any kind of neutralisation in the last couple of hours, Garth, and you've got your gun driver in it, then you're running for overall at that point.
Yeah. Any of these cars that play high-speed chess and poker nicely over the course of the first 11 hours and get it right can absolutely be in the game for that last hour with their pro aboard. So we also have the wave buy in this race as well for the lapped car. So even if you lose laps early and to your point, Rich, you play the safety car game correctly, you can strategise your way back onto the lead lap late in the race, then you're a chance. You're an absolute chance. And so a lot of these teams will be thinking that way. It's not, oh yeah, class win would be nice. No. Let's get it on. Let's stick this thing on the podium.
Yeah, let's have a go.
Outright.
Why not? And you can do that. It is harder this year, I would argue, than it's been since 2020, given the depth of the pro field, where all three drivers, for the most part, are factory-backed, works, fast, professional racing car drivers. But it is still possible, and that is very exciting. We're watching the BMW M4 GT3 of Team KRC, and this is a brand new entry to the race. Very distinctive livery. Love it. Dark green with the fluoro outfits, but as quite a few of our Asian friends do when they come and visit this place over the journey, they bring with them some flair. And I like that for KRC. And if you have a look on the side of that BMW, you'll see a crocodile. That's Marcus. That's their mascot. But what I love about their mascot here is that they've dressed him up. And one of them's got a koala, and one of them, there's the koala, see? So the crocodile is wearing a koala, which sounds like something that could happen in Crocodile Dundee or something like that. But I love that they've gone this Aussie little approach, but they've brought their mascot with them. Fan favourite. We always see it with teams like that come down here and play at this race.
Che Adam, down in the pit lane, where are you?
I am in the Quinn garage, and I have just witnessed one Quinn get out of an Audi and another one take over. Tony, how special is it when you get out of a beautiful Audi, having just done laps around the mountain, and hand over to family?
Well, it's quite unique, and I believe that this is the first time this has ever been done. Maybe that's for a good reason, don't know. But look, the car was good. The car was quite comfortable. And each lap we've got better and better. So look, it's a long weekend, and I'm not here to bring home any cup or win any competition. We're here to have some fun and make a mark on the Quinn family legacy. That's what we're doing.
Is there any realistic goal for the weekend, though? Do you want to be within a certain lap time of Ryder, let's say?
No. Because Ryder is what we call the rooster. He's away, he's gone. And his dad, Clark, he's reviving his old career, and he's doing well as well. But me and Kent, we're definitely amateur drivers. I mean, I should be in an old folks' home, and Kent started late. So no, we've got no internal competition. We just want to finish. We all want to finish, and we've got a great team here. We've got 40-odd people here that are supporting us. And we're not even paying for them, you know what I mean? Like, normally you have to pay for people to come and support you. But no, they're very, very good. So we're all, I think I can talk on behalf of all of them. Everybody's happy.
It's been a minute since you've been in this great race. It's obviously been on your mind for a while to come back. What does it mean to you to get the opportunity to do it in such a powerful way?
Yeah, as I say to people, I didn't go to school for long enough to learn the words that describe it, right? I can't really describe it. I don't have the vocabulary to do that. But you're right, we used to do this event every year, but the last 2 times we did it, we were taken out by guys that were laps down. So it was like, we just got fed up of it, and we all went off in our own different ways. And it's only last year that we decided that, I explained that it was one of the bucket list items that are left. There's not many left. And the guys all said, well, let's do it. Let's see if we can do it. So, I think they did say, as long as you pay for it.
Yeah,
yeah, that's right. But no, it was all very, very good. And it's all come together so well. So much so that even my ex-wife was coming down today to be with us.
Truly is a family affair then. A lot of people cheering for you. A lot of purple hats being worn in this garage. Good luck to you all this week.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well,
He's a character.
That's a Tony Quinn interview if I've ever heard one.
Well done, Shay Adam, to get out of that interview at that point.
Yeah,
That was smart play.
It's nice use of the handbrake there, I thought, just to keep it out of the wall.
It's such a great, genuinely such a great story, though. And there's been quite a bit of water under the bridge to put all of this together and to link up with MPC, who's going to run the car for them, who's running the car for them this weekend. He said very early on, I don't want any brand on the car. I just want a gigantic Q on the side and paint it purple so everyone can see where we are, so no one hits us during the race. That was their prime motivation for this. We just want to stay out of the way and try and get the car to the finish, which is great. And then maybe when Ryder's behind the wheel, we might see a little lap time from this car, because he is a fast young pro with success here in GT4 racing and in Porsche Carrera Cup. And actually, young Ryder got a nod from BMW to be part of their global junior driver program as well, which is awesome. So it's such a cool story. So if you're not familiar with it, Tony's the granddad. His two sons, Clark and Kent, of his 4 children, are here and driving. And then Ryder is his grandson, is Clark's son. Yeah. So 3 generations of Quinns behind the wheel, and that has never happened before in all of the history of everything that's gone on at Mount Panorama, which is remarkable.
I don't think it's happened in GT3 competition before. I've quoted this before, and I remember seeing Hans stuck with 2 of his boys in a Lamborghini at the Nürburgring. That would have been the 24-hour race at the Nürburgring. 2 generations. I cannot imagine even another family, Garth, where they could go that deep into... have the Andretti's done it? Maybe.
Actually, Marco.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But they put out.
But, I mean, you got to
I was racking my brain yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm sure Tony would appreciate the link to the Andretti's.
Yes.
Well, another racing dynasty.
Yeah.
Answers on a postcard, please, to @RSL_studio.
Hashtag B12HR. And visual confirmation of who is in the car, because that was a shot of Clark Quinn. So 1K Quinn in pit lane. It's Kent behind the wheel of the number 101 Audi R8. From one Audi to another, we pick up the Hallmark Property Group car that's owned by Mark Sini, the most experienced one-make Porsche racer in this part of the world. And last year ticked over 400 Porsche Carrera Cup races. First driver on the planet to do that, which was a huge thing. Verified by Porsche AG as well.
Remember that?
Yeah. Which was an incredible accomplishment. And this is like an annual golf weekend away for Mark, for Dean Fiore, and for Lee Holdsworth. And that's Dean taking a photo of himself.
Yes, of himself. Television. It's not the timing screen.
It's not a surprise. And Lee Holdsworth, Bathurst winner, alongside him, and again run by the team at MPC. So this is an enjoyable weekend for those guys, and they're cheering their boy Mark on. He's 14th at the moment at a 209.55.
Audi, an ever-present in the most recent era of the 12 hours, the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hours. One of the first, I think actually not the first major OEM to commit to this race back in the James O'Brien days, and they have been here, Krillsy, ever since. Great support for this event. Sent the trucks down and everything like that. They were one of the first people to have support in the paddock. I remember the big trailers coming in, the sort of road train trailers that you have down here, and sitting at the top of the paddock.
I would make an argument that this race wouldn't be where it is today without Audi's early involvement.
Surely.
When it went GT3, it was a bold decision, because we went from having 60 production cars on the grid to a 25-car field with 5 or 6 GT3 cars, but without Audi coming in with all their factory might and introduced Christopher Mies to Australia. He became a little superstar here as a result of that. This would be a very, very different race if the storyline hadn't have unfolded in that way. Mark is now one of the most experienced guys in this race as well. He and David Russell share the same number of starts, and somewhere in the vicinity of 30,000 kilometres of racing laps completed in Bathurst 12-hour trim over their journey here at Mount Panorama in the 12-hour. But I love that those guys keep coming out and playing each year, and they get together and they finished 6th in 2022, so they've had some results as well, as we see some traffic playing a role down Conrod Straight with the Team NZ Aston Martin. Just sticking to the left-hand side and letting Kenny Habal fly past down towards the Scuderia Auto Art chase. It's a cool story, and with Dino and Lee behind the wheel, they'll be a competitive proposition throughout the day as well. We've seen Lee Holdsworth nibble away, getting into the top 10 on occasion as well.
Well, he was in the top 10 in the Pirelli pole battle last year, was one of the contenders. So to your point, we were talking about getting them, one of these cars getting themselves in the game at the end of the race. Well, that's one car that had themselves in the game at the start of the race, because they had the speed to qualify into the start of the Pirelli pole battle on Saturday afternoon. And I think Lee said it's the fastest lap I've ever done around the mountain, and might be the fastest lap I ever do around the mountain, because it was a 1.8, and that's seriously that's hustling. That is hustling.
Few people have gone quicker than that. The pace was so fast last year. Third quickest pole time in the history of this race. Lucas Auer, we'll talk about that when we get to the Pirelli pole battle tomorrow afternoon. Brilliant 15 minutes of entertainment that was done on lap 2 of last year's session. Pole position decided very, very early. We're a way away from that yet, though. 3 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in this one. Brett Hobson's gone quickest in the GWR and Ram Motorsport Mercedes AMG 205.31 for the Sydney sider, who hasn't been driving GT cars much of late. He's been on the dirt tracks of New South Wales and broader Australia in a 410 sprint car. Cutting laps in a sprint car, Brett Hobson, with quite a bit of success as well, I might add. So it's great to see Brett back, and Garth Walden back behind the wheel as well of car number 45, which is going to be a really good program. And we talk about putting your pro in the car at the end. They've got Dylan O'Keefe as their pro driver, who is the reigning Porsche Carrera Cup champion. So there's the ace in their deck of cards.
Along with this car has a real chance and will be in the conversation. I think the other most used, get this on your bingo card and you're going to be all right. The most used phrase is, if they're on the lead lap with an hour and a half to go and they put XXX driver in, that is going to be the other phrase of the weekend here, gentlemen, because there are so many across the GT3 classes where that is absolutely key. If they can be there, Garth, it is going to be the archetypal grandstand shootout finish.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll be talking about for the race win, but for a lot of these cars, like a top 5 outright is a genuine massive opportunity.
Totally.
And absolutely realistic that can happen. So, yes, we will talk a lot about having your gun in the car for the last hour and a half of the race, but that's the beauty of GT3 racing, is you can do that. You can structure your driving roster in such a way that your bronze driver, your gentleman driver, your late starter to motorsport gets the opportunity to race at an outright race at Mount Panorama in a GT3 race in a stacked field. But then if you strategize it right, you can give yourself a top 5 finish at the end of the day. And that's the beauty of GT3 racing, I think.
And as we've seen at this place, if you're in the top 5 in the final hour, anything is possible. It's great, isn't it? Great to see Friday, traditionally at Supercar Rounds and at the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 Hour, is School Kids Day. So they open the event up to all of the local schools in the region. I think more than 400 here today. There's a kids press conference that happens at 1 o'clock this afternoon, which I'm going to stick my head in and see how that plays out, because the Quins are going, plus the team from Scott Taylor Motorsport.
Oh, brilliant.
Jazz, Cam and Thomas.
Oh, that's cool.
So that is going to be hilarious.
And the kids are asking, the children are asking the questions. Have we got coverage of that?
No, but we should.
We should
make a good point.
Can we get somebody in there with a recorder and get that on? Because that is box office.
They're going to learn things, those kids. They're going to get some business advice.
Certainly from Tony Quinn, they'll learn some life advice.
Correct.
Invitational class, 111. Coming through the final corner and on to the front straight.
Darren Curry behind the wheel of that car, just done an 8.9 and is 12th on the leaderboard and quickest of the 2 invitational class cars, the IRC GT.
More, please. More of those, please.
Yeah, we need half a dozen of them in the race.
Yeah, I think
and it would be an unbelievable class battle in invitational.
Totally agree.
Good package, designed to go the distance in these races. Originally, the Gen 1 cars, which were modelled around a Ford Focus, were based and debuted at this race.
It's a Mazda as well, wasn't there? There was a Mazda body shape as well. I remember those.
Then they went to the Generation 2 car, which expanded and went to Mustang and Camaro style body shapes, and then it's now become IRC. Danny Studdard, who owns the business, is behind the wheel with two great mates, Darren Curry and Axel Donaldson, who have been driving together for a very long time. They've got a bunch of off-road racing events as well. They've got a Merc AMG GT3 that they run in GT World Challenge Australia, but they wanted to roll out the IRC car for this weekend to have a bit of a go, and drafted Danny in to share the driving.
Sounds fabulous, doesn't it, across the top. Good morning to you. Still morning here at Bathurst. If you've just got on the encampment site, checkered flag flew about 25 seconds ago to end the second 40-minute session. This is the bronze, and kind of like bronze and rookie drivers here session. As we mentioned, one or two of the silver drivers who haven't been here before asked for and got dispensation. I think that's smart officiating. I really, really do.
Brad Schumacher's just punched out a very handy 205.35 to go third, and only 0.03 away from Brett Hobson's quickest time of the session so far, so good luck for the Audi. Tony Ruan behind the wheel of the number 89 Team KRC BMW M4, splitting them, so that's an impressive lap from a Bathurst first-timer to do a 5.3. Ian James in fourth place, defending bronze class winning team that mixed up the driver lineup this year at Heart of Racing, but you know that they're going to be competitive, and Ian's done a 5.5, which is very competitive. Kenny Habal, P5, sat out the end of their last little stanza of that session, but completed 15 laps. Most laps completed of the session by Brad Schumacher at 16 in the number 55 Audi. So Brad maximising that session, and the beauty for Brad is that he gets another entire session to himself later on this afternoon. So Brad's going to have, if he can do another 15 or 16 laps, he'll have 30, 35 laps under his belt, and the pro drivers can split the other two. Let's go down to Elfoyle's pit lane and back to Shay.
With the fastest cars so far, Greg Walton, you've got to be pleased with how that session went down for the number 45 Mercedes.
Yeah, we're pretty happy. So the car feels good. Both Brett and myself drove in the bronze session. Brett topped it at the end, and both of us, were there or thereabouts. So it's just about getting comfortable. We might make some changes after this one to the car and try and tune it up a little bit. But so far so good. We're all comfortable, which is good.
You know how to win this race in class. You've done it before. Dylan's done it before as well. How much easier is it when you come into a race weekend and you've got that little bit of extra confidence of having done it before?
Yeah, I don't know about easier, but we sort of know what to do. It definitely doesn't make it easy, but you just got to, it's all the 1%ers. You got to hit all your marks, and between on the track, off the track, have a good strategy and be consistent. And luckily enough for us, we got three really good drivers who are very consistent and sensible. So yeah, we'll just hit our marks and see where we end up.
Is the goal just the class win, or are you guys thinking about moving up into the top 10, maybe top 5 as the race goes on?
Yeah, class wins first, and if we can sneak in the top 10, it'll be unreal, but there's a lot of good cars and teams and drivers out there, so you never know. Class win, we'll start with that and see where we end up outright.
Dare to dream. Good luck.
Absolutely. Thank you. Cheers.
I knew that the collective wisdom would not let us down, gents. In August 2020, the Andretti family, Mario, his son Michael, and grandson Marco, shared the track at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Thanks, Joel, for this. Mario drove the Honda two-seater. Michael was the passenger in the two-seater Indy car. They led the field before the Indy 500. Marco was in the field, but as far as Joel knows, they never raced together.
Yeah, so they're on track together, but not
on track.
Shared. Well,
which that is
two of them
cool.
shared a car, but they weren't in the race.
Correct. Yeah. That's a pretty cool
But it was at the Indy 500, so that raises it a little bit.
Doesn't it? It's
yeah,
right
but
up
it's
there.
not competing in the same entry
okay.
together.
All right, well, there we go.
Marco and Michael have a couple of times, certainly at Le Mans as well.
I would imagine they would have done a Daytona or a Sebring or something.
Yeah, in a Porsche. There was a very famous run out for an early Porsche that I saw getting rebuilt at Porsche in North America. Right, if you know better, any 3 generations of racing family who have competed together, we think the Quins are unique in that aspect in motor racing, certainly in endurance and GT3 racing. If you know better, then you know where to send your notes.
Hashtag B12HR at Bathurst 12 Hour on all of the socials. Get on board. The digital team is waiting for your call. We do know that it is the first time it's happened here at Mount Panorama, and we've been racing here for a very long time, so anytime you get a first here at Bathurst is really special. So into the lane comes the car that was quickest in practice number 2. Brett Hobson did the time. We just heard from Garth Walden, who owns and runs the team. Mike Sheargold from Ram Motorsport, heavily involved in this. And to show you the competitive fires that burn, this car was originally entered in the silver class, but then they decided the competition was better in Pro-Am and elevated themselves up a class to go into Pro-Am so they could have more of a race. And I love that competitive spirit. It's easy to say that on a Friday when the results don't mean anything. We'll see how that plays out for them when we get to the podium at about 5:45 on Sunday afternoon. But they were quickest in the second practice session. Practice 3 still coming your way here from Mount Panorama at the Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour John Hindhaugh. And we've got some more support racing sessions coming your way on a big day Fast Friday here at the Mountain.
Can't wait. Still plenty of action to come. Tune in via the YouTube, via RS1 Worldwide. If you're a bandwidth compromise or you've got some work to do, then you can take the audio with you as well. But for the moment, from the Global Broadcast Centre, thanks for joining us. Stay tuned to the rest of Fast Friday.
Nice to have you with us at the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 Hour this weekend. And we've got one of the favourite support classes on the track right now. Of course, sports cars and sedans back once again, playing support to Sunday's big race. Brian van der Wacker and Gary O'Brien alongside me for this one. A very good morning to you for the first time, Gary.
Yeah, it's great to be back here at Mount Panorama for the Duggins Family Hotels, combined sedans and sports cars. Unfortunately, we had a very short qualifying session this morning. Only 9 cars got a lap in. We had a major accident up the top of the mountain, more or less like the Chas Moster Tickford Falcon accident. Both walls on the way down towards the Forest Elbow and in at the elbows where it ended up. Keith Kasilke in the Mark II Mustang has been taken to hospital for observation. That's as much as we know at this stage. The other car we lost out of that first qualifying session was Ben Arnold in the ex-Paul Morris Motorsport Hercules supercar. That car's done a diff, so that won't be starting for the rest of the weekend. So we're down to 54 cars at the moment.
Still an impressive field, though, isn't it, when you speak of those numbers? 54 for this weekend, and such a wide variety of cars here this weekend. I think that's why people have come to love this category. We've got a number of Porsches rolling through the shot there at Griffin's Bend, but it's the variety, I think, that attracts a lot of people.
For sure, we go from space frame sports sedans, space frame Trans Am cars, we've got chassis cars, ex-supercars, improved production cars, even production cars, some of them getting some sneaky practice laps in the lead up to the Bathurst 6 Hour, which is on the Easter weekend.
Yeah, we are continuing to see a lot of that because really, as we mentioned earlier on today, this place isn't open for testing really throughout the course of the year, so you've got to actually compete in race events in order to get your miles up and do your practice sessions in that particular order. There's one of the cars we were speaking about that do the Bathurst 6 Hour. Ben Cabbage there rolling through the screen, and also Jason Gomersall there in the number 30 Mustang as well. And look at this, the cars are still filing through shot. They left the pit lane about 3 minutes ago. They still haven't even got to the end of Mountain Straight.
Well, you compare to the first cars out, and they usually number the first 35 or so, that they're the first cars to go out, and they're perceived to be the fastest. So they'll be out first. Now we're getting into the production-style cars, which are at the back of the field, and by the time they get back to the start-finish line, they'll be lapped.
It's interesting to note, too, that this category has slightly changed over the last few years. They've opened up the rules a lot more now to allow some older spec GT cars to compete here, and, of course, a lot of one-make Porsche machinery, which are very much at the high end of the capabilities of lap times here at Mount Panorama. So much so, the big change for the category heading into this weekend at the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 Hour is that previously the benchmark lap time that you could do was a 2:09 flat. That has been lowered to a 2:05 for this weekend.
Yeah, and that'll take most of these cars to their optimum performance. I can't see too many cars going quicker than a 2:05.
No, but it's going to be very interesting to see how close they can actually get to that marker. So,
well, they had to manage it in previous years. You know, the 9 was easy breakable, and Jeff Taunton in that, well, he's not running this year, unfortunately, but his car is. That's the green IRC GT. You can see it in the background of that shot there, just coming down Conrod Straight. He won all 3 races last year, but he broke out in the time, so he got a penalty. And that was that great race that he had with Angus Fogg, and Fogg ended up being the winner of it.
You mentioned at the outset that this theoretically is qualifying session number 2. We saw qualifying session 1 earlier on this morning. The idea behind it is we'll combine the times basically from what we saw earlier on today. Like you mentioned, only a handful of cars getting a lap time in. So this really now is going to be the critical session for these drivers to get a lap in and sort themselves out for the first race, which will be coming up later on this afternoon at 5 minutes past 3 o'clock. So it's a 30-minute session. We've already elapsed 5 minutes, believe it or not, so that outlap has taken quite a while, but for some of these heavy-hitting cars, they're already now on their first push lap.
Well, it's possibly the reason they would have done that is to make sure they keep the field fairly well compressed on that opening lap, rather than having them so spread out that the quick cars on their second lap would not run into traffic. We can see a few Porsches coming through. There's quite a few Porsches here running. Former Porsche Sprint Challenge cars, some of them. There is an exotic one. Scotty Taylor's car is a GT3R, which is a very exclusive car in this neck of the woods. And we're seeing Brad Shields in the Joe said owned and prepped Fiat 124 coupe with a twin rotor turbo. He was the fastest in that actual short session this morning that he had. And that car's done a 6 here in the past, so he's pretty close to the mark of what he can do. He did it here at a Sports Sedan Championship race the year before last. So we know that that car is quick, and Brad knows how to steer the thing. So keep an eye on the number 9 car. He might be the one that ends up on the front row for the first race.
Sounds tremendous as well, and the flames out the pipes on the right-hand side of the car too is very impressive as he brings it down now into Forest Elbow. And no surprise that he's quick in the first and second split at the moment. Here's the first car on the track right now as it will thunder down Conrod Straight. The sound of these things are incredible. Let's pause for a moment. Take a listen to this. Oh, yeah. That is nice. That is nice. He'll tip it in now into the chase and stand on those big brakes. We'll get an idea of a lap time here in just a moment as he brings it through the left-hander. A man with so much experience here over the years. He's done radicals, he's done Porsche Sprint Challenge as well, but this Fiat is close to his heart as he wiggles that car now, under brakes through the left-hander at Murray's corner. And what is the lap time going to be? The first lap time in this session, a 2:07.8. Not a bad lap time indeed, Gary.
Well, he did a 12 in the opening lap this morning, so he's on the money. There's the green car. Ryan McMillan stepping in for Jeff Taunton in that IRC GT SS, a sports sedan version. You'll see a lot of these cars here. We've just seen Tyler Cheney have a little lock-up down the hill corner. We've got IRC GT and IRC GT SS. The SS is a sports sedan version. It doesn't run the ABS or the traction control. Runs a bigger tyre and a bigger or more powerful engine than what the IRC GT does. And this is an IRC GT car we're watching here, and just behind it is the 2012 Super 2 winning Ford Falcon FG of Scott McLaughlin, raced this weekend by Ben Gomersall.
And he'll compete for Tickford once again in the Dunlop Super 2 series, kicking off next weekend at Sydney Motorsport Park. So getting some supercar miles again underneath his belt here at Mount Panorama. For the first time he drove a supercar here last year in the Dunlop Super 2 Championship. So again, some valuable distance in that old Scott McLaughlin machine. Won the Dunlop Super 2 Championship behind that car back at Sydney Olympic Park it was that day in 2012.
Well, Ben's dad, Jason, owns the car, and I think it's his pride and joy. Very lucky. He has raced it occasionally in Super 3 and V8 touring cars, but doesn't like to take it out too much because it's, as it is, it's a special car. It's got good memories.
It's an ex-SBR car as well, so the chassis FG01, so a special bit of machinery. And we've got a few of the ex-supercars in the field, which we'll touch on throughout the course of this weekend as well. Still to note, though, that time that we saw from Shields on that opening lap, he is 3.5 seconds quicker than the rest of the field at the moment. Here he is on screen once again. He's done a personal best, in fact, to the second sector, so we'll see if he can improve the lap time here as he brings it through the final turn once again. Still 20 minutes left on the clock in this session, and he does improve that lap time at 2 minutes 7.4. Another handsome lap from Shields.
Just running through the order, Nathan Hearn in second. There is Nathan Hearn in the Mustang, which has just been sold, actually, so I don't think he wants to put any sort of marks on it.
That is
and the new owner can say, well, not yet anyway. Nathan Hearn and Blake Tracy are teamed up this year in the Trans Am series, and Blake Tracy in a brand new Mustang bodied car, and Nathan Hearn's actually going to a Camaro bodied car for the season, but having a final run in this car, which was originally a Dodge Challenger, and they just rebodied it and sent him out in this Mustang. He felt that that might have been a better car. He went over to America, raced over there in a Camaro, and came back and realised that, yeah, that might be just the way to go. And we know that GRM have just announced that their fleet of Mustangs have been replaced by Camaros this year as well.
The thing about these Trans Am cars is, particularly under brakes, they like to move around a lot, particularly on that Hoosier tyre. It's a bit unstable, and it takes a lot of control, I guess you would say, in order to get the maximum speed out of it. And a lot of the time, in order to get that optimum speed, you've got to almost float the car on top of the surface as well. So it takes a unique driving style. You can see the shots there as it comes across the top of the mountain, just how much it moves across the surface, and it's not easy to control. We've got two cars parked there on driver's left heading into the top of McPhillamy Park.
trying to see who that is. Looks like it's a BMW and a Falcon. Two of them parked there. Fortunately, not in a really dangerous spot.
Well, there is a little bit of an opening in the fence there that they can wheel the cars back into the lane. It looks like it's Troy Wood there in the Falcon, the XR6 Turbo, that's getting ushered back behind the wall there.
And John Angelello in the BMW would be the other car there. The Wood car, Troy Wood car, is actually a Turbo 6 XR6 Falcon, and 1 or 2 in the field. Brent Edwards runs a XR6 Turbo as well. He had a fly-by-wire issue this morning, so he got towed in. So we've seen 2 cars didn't come back when the session was red flagged, and that was the reason for the second car not being shown as re-entering the pits. Here's Mark Duggan, the sponsor of this category for the weekend for the 5th time in a row, and he's running the ex-Kerry Bailey Aston Martin DBS Chef-powered, of course, with a SB2 NASCAR engine, and he finished 2nd in the final race here last year, so getting better and better every time he comes out to the track. Currently be running 3 cars this year. He's running Tyler Cheney in Trans Am and TA2, and he's got a Touring Car Masters Commodore, which he hopes to do some races in himself. Just passes one of the Burkhardt's Porsches there, 2 of them, the father and son running this weekend in the Porsches. Son is actually in the car that Sven won the first GT3 Cup Challenge series back in the day.
And am I right in saying that this Aston Martin did a 2:03 here at Challenge?
Garner Patterson, who's running in the 12-hour, yep. Just a tad over a 2:03 dead.
Impressive, isn't it? Seriously quick times. Speaking of time, Stephen Lacey has gone up into position number 2, incidentally, and back in a car that's a little bit more to his reference colours from back in the day, the yellow and black.
Well, the funny thing with that was originally Jeff Taunton's car in the green, and then they re-livered it in the red for Steve to race, and now he's put it back to the colours that we normally see him in. There's a great podcast going out at the moment from Speed Cafe and Spotify, and it's with Steve Lacey talking about his career from super sprints right through to sports sedans, and also how this event began as a regularity at the Easter meeting and is developed into what we see today.
It's incredible, isn't it? We speak of drivers that have done plenty of miles here at Mount Panorama, but Stephen Lacey, he has done so much here in a wide variety of cars, it's got to be said as well.
Well, his first car he had was a SS hatchback Tirana, which he still has, and he used to drive that to the circuit to do sprints. Then he got a VK Commodore, and we're probably more familiar with him in the Chev Camaro sports sedan that Steve Vigers owned and built and prepped for Sir Steve. And then when Steve Vigers decided to give the game away, that's when he's moved into this IRC GTSS. And just following through there is Trent White, who won the Australian Production Car Championship last year, so by winning the final round at Winton.
One word that will probably come from a lot of drivers at the end of this qualifying session is going to be traffic. Because with the wide variety of different speeds that you got here, it's such a challenge trying to get through that traffic at the right time, and particularly when you're going across the top Mount Panorama, and Duffy's probably about to experience here in a moment as well.
Well, at the moment, we've still got Brad Shields fastest ahead of Steve Lacey, and then we've got the 2 TA2 Trans Am cars of Hearn and Tracy, and then it's Duggan the next one through, and we just had a spinner down at Murray's Corner.
Yeah, Tim Mann in the Ford BF Falcon there, just looping the car around there.
Tasmanian with a 6-litre engine in that car, so it's a fair bit of supercar bits in that, I would imagine.
Almost under the bridge there, the Meguiar's bridge on Pitt Straight. And
it's a good spin when you don't hit anything, isn't it?
Oh, and you lit it up there as well. And
lucky the fence doesn't go all the way down there.
And it typically is only a tyre barrier down there as well, but the rejoin was quite precarious with some of those other cars going around in a bit of a smoke screen, but luckily enough we got that car back underway, and we stay under green at the moment with still just over 15 minutes remaining in what is qualifying session 2 of the weekend for the Duggan Family Hotels Bathurst Sports Cars and Sedans.
They've got 3 races coming up over the course of the weekend, 1 later this afternoon, which you previously mentioned, and 2 tomorrow. And they're 30-minute races. Now, sports sedans don't generally run for 30 minutes, so they've got to be a little bit careful with their fuel economy.
It's actually not a bad point that you mentioned, because they are quite thirsty when it comes to the fuel, Gary.
2 IRC cars, one being the SS and the other one the GT, or GTSS and the G. That's Lee Stibbs, who was pretty dominant in the IRC series last year. Unfortunately, had a DNF at around when it was pretty crucial. I think it was Meguiar, and I think he finished second to Jeff Emery in that series. So
I think he's got former Supercars driver Chris Pither on the radio headset this weekend.
Chris pushing it back into the garage area at the top of the pit area there.
But it was a great example that you mentioned of the different, might look like the same car, but of course completely different in terms of the way that they achieve their top-end speeds going down Conrod Straight.
Yeah, and the IRC got a new car they're bringing out this year called the SD. Looks fairly similar. You have to look pretty close. It's got it's different around the front aero and the rear wing. It runs a stick shift rather than a paddle. Doesn't have the ABS or the traction control. It's sort of like an introductory level for anyone that wants to run IRC this year.
So at the moment, with still 12 minutes left on the clock for this qualifying session, it's still Shields on top with a 2 minute 7.4, the fastest car at the moment. Lacey, position number 2, 209.3, followed up by Nathan Hearn, position number 3, Tracy in 4th, Duggan back there in position number 5, and then you got Jake Donaldson here this weekend in a beautiful Porsche, in fact. He's so far position number 6. Gomersall in 7th. Sims, Taylor, Rowell at the moment completing your top 10.
Yeah, Sims has done a pretty good time for that car. It's a BMW with a Chev in it. Comes from Albury. He also owns the Ben Arnold car, the one that did the diff earlier. But they had a centre bearing go on that car in that session this morning. Got it back out, but maybe having more dramas with it, or maybe they think, well, we're 9th on the road, so nothing to worry about. Scotty Taylor in 10th. In that GT3R we mentioned before. And then we've got Mick Rowell and another of the IRC cars. Brad Carr this weekend in the Porsche. You normally see him teamed up with Lindsay Kearns in the production car Falcon. Actually, Lindsay's here this weekend being the gopher and the man working the headphones in the pits. Lachlan Harburg, another Porsche driver, but this weekend in an IRC car, so I guess he's making the move across. And John Goodacre just behind him, both another one of the IRC cars. You always tell John's car, it's got a very distinctive green colouring on it. Resembles what he likes to drink when he's not driving.
Green cordial.
Yeah.
That's what you're referring to.
This is Scotty Taylor. We've talked about him before. Regular these days in Super Utes, and brings his car out for combined sedans, and also runs the tin top meeting at Darwin. I think he's pretty sure he'll be back up there this year. Had big success up there last year. That car was unbeatable, and he and Mark Dargan were the two standouts at that meeting, but they were racing against XLs and HQs and a few IP cars that go up and do it. So they were restricted on what times they could do, just to try and make it a little bit interesting and not so dangerous and going past slower cars too quickly.
So at the moment, Scotty Taylor down in position number 9, incidentally. And his fastest lap of the session at the moment at 2:14.4.
One of 2 Lamborghinis in the field. This is the Minister for Happiness in Richard Gardner. Raced for a long time in production cars in a Renault Clio. We've got double yellows being waved down into the chase. So it looks like maybe someone's gone off there. Only double yellows, so it's like, yeah, someone spun on the exit there quickly. We just got a brief glance at. So that would have mucked up his time there. And it's car 29, Peter Bray from Queensland in his Queensland Touring Car Championship. Basically an improved production type Commodore.
It's in a bit of a precarious position there. And in fact, we do go red now because that car is not refired. And in the tricky spot that it is, the Officials had no other choice but unfortunately to red flag this session with still 9 minutes remaining on the clock. You would think that it might be a somewhat quick recovery, so we might be able to get some laps in here towards the back end of the session. So a good opportunity to again run through your top 10. Shields on top, 2 minutes 7.4 from Lacey in second. Hearn position number 3. We've got another car stopped up there, and drivers left at the top of Mount Panorama. It's Robert Vanderkamp in one of the another one of the ex-supercars, so he's stopped and getting a chat from the officials as to what to do next. I'll continue to run through the top 10 before we mention Vanderkamp. So Tracy in 4th, Doug in position number 5, Donaldson 6th, Gomersol, Sims, Taylor and Rao, the top 10.
Here's Blake Tracy bringing the new Mustang that will be running this year under the guidance of Nathan Hearn. I think there will be a fair bit of angst between those two because they both like to win. And here he is, out on track, and whoa! And he kept it off the wall, but very close. I wouldn't like to be standing between that car and the wall. I dare say that they would have had your knees graze somewhat.
Well, the brand new car nearly had its first mark on it there, but thankfully got away with that. And we have seen some huge moments at that point of the racetrack over the years, whether it be here in the 12-hour or the 1,000 as well. But he was very, very lucky to not turn that brand new race car into a brand new canoe.
Indeed, and here's the Bray car coming back with what looks like something hanging off the back of it. Is that the...
Look at the way it's tracking and crabbing going into the pits as well, so there might be more to the story with that spin that we saw down there at the chase.
That's why it wasn't moving, I guess. Yeah, I think it's gone backwards somewhere there. That's got some damage on it.
So he'll bring that car into the lane, but good to see that car is actually moving. So like we mentioned, with 7.5 minutes to go, this session should get back under green, and we should have some last flying laps coming in and seeing if anyone can improve on that 2 minutes 7.4.
A 3+ second gap over the rest of the field for Brad Sherrill.
Of course, it was this sort of category that we've seen the likes of Jordan Cox make a name for himself over the years. Remember the classic shots of him? I think it was the Civic, was it? The Honda Civic going across the top of McPhillamy Park?
Improved production rates, yeah.
And the thing up on 3 wheels and 2 wheels just about going across the top. It was fantastic to watch.
Put on another big effort over at Adelaide where they ran as a support race as well.
So most of the cars came back in, and that would explain it, Gary. Left-hand rear of that car is looking...
That's got some towing, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it looks like with the graze marks along the side of the car as well, it's probably made contact with a wall somewhere as well. I'll tell you what, if that actually... It's lucky that may have come apart with the car where it did, because if that was already skew-if on the car when they got through the kink at the chase, that could have been a much bigger moment.
Right alongside Matt Sims' BMW there in the pits. They're having a look under the back of it now. Yeah, they may not make the race this afternoon, but may be repaired for the races on Saturday.
What is already a 54-car grid now for this weekend after that incident that we saw for Keith Kasulki in practice session, or qualifying session number 1 it was earlier on today. Time continuing to drop away here. We've got 5 minutes and 40 seconds remaining.
I dare say they'll want to retrieve those cars that are up the top as well now too. So,
well, we've just gone back green.
They're not going to retrieve those cars that are up the top then.
And Shills is the first one out of the lane, followed by Tracy. So they want to get a move on here as well and try and get back to the lane. They might be able to squeeze 2 laps in, but it's going to be tight once they get back to the control line. Watch for Benny Gomersol as well. Position 7 at the moment in that ex-SBR Falcon.
Jason is running as well in the production car that finished 3rd at the 6-hour last year.
And how's the names? How's the names helping those two, by the way, this weekend?
Yeah, Glenn Seaton is on the tools for the Mustang, and Aaron Seaton's on the tools for the Falcon for this weekend. But there are some big names, and you mentioned Chris Piffer's out working up there in the IRC camp. Quite a few named drivers there from other categories that are also part of those crews as well.
I saw Oscar Target earlier on today as well, poking his head around the paddocks, had the cans on as well.
Yeah, he ran in 6-hour last year in the Speed Cafe BMW entry. Very quick towards the end of the race.
and running Porsche Carrera Cup as well. Look at these drives at the head of the field, trying to get some temperature back into these tyres once again to go for one more flying lap here as Shields comes across the top of Mount Panorama. Good crowd there already starting to mill there, and watch the action as the sun continues to shine and starting to come out as well. We had some cloudy conditions earlier on this morning, but the ambient temperature now really starting to ramp back up. I think it was meant to be a top of 25 degrees today, but it certainly wasn't that first thing this morning.
So you told me.
It was freezing, and I didn't bring a jacket either.
They told me it was very windy up the top of the mountain for the campers last night and very cold. I said it was no good. It was all right where I was. Talking about the Gomersaurs, as you did before, father and son both running this weekend. Mark Tracy's running, who's Blake Tracy's dad, he's running as well.
Yeah.
So he's in the fire engine red BMW, Chev powered. He's looking at selling that car as well. Said we've got too many cars, got to get rid of them.
Look at Tracy, it's like a traffic jam now behind it. You've got to be careful here because there's drivers weaving and there's also drivers wanting to get by and further up the queue, and sometimes that's often a recipe for disaster. We've seen that over the years here as well, but Tracy's going to make that TA2 Mustang as wide as he possibly can. Shields doesn't care about it because he's got some clean track here. What he doesn't want to do, though, is be too quick on the outlap because you can catch the back of the train.
And you don't want to blow your time either. You don't want to go under a 5.
That's right. Remember that benchmark time has been lowered this year from a 2:09 to a 2:05. Now these drivers start to pick up the pace as they'll come to the line with 2 minutes and 40 seconds remaining. So some of these drivers at the head of the queue will get a second lap in, but this one's going to be the one that will have to count.
And notice some that didn't go out. Matt Sims didn't go out, and he's been in pits for quite a while. Steve Lacey, the man, along with his wife Bronnie, who put this event together, he's not out as well. And it looks like Anthony Cox in the Saab 93, the Dodge NASCAR-powered sports sedan, is not going back out as well. There's a couple of others as well. All happy to sit on the times that they've got.
Duggan almost showing the nose here down the inside at Griffin's bed. Thinks better of it.
Right,
but we'll have to now get down the inside.
Thinks better of it, lets him go by. Where did Millen finish up? Not anywhere up near the top. It's a bit unusual. That car should be fairly quick around here.
Just it's busy work, isn't it, already? We'll get an understanding of times here in a moment as well as they go through the first sector. Shields, best of the session so far, 51.1. So looking to improve on that lap of a 2 minute 7.4.
51, that's almost like supercar pace at that first sector going up the hill.
It's very handsome, isn't it? Tracy using all the road and then some, just about going through McPhilby. Now down the S's. Duggan in behind as well here, with Hearn not too far in arrears.
I think Blake might get bragging rights out of this because Nathan can't get past the Aston Martin at this point.
Gee, Duggan pinched a left front then going into the dipper, and Hearn is not going to be happy about this because it's ruining a lap time for him at the moment. He's third on the timing splits. They come across the top section of the racetrack now.
And he won't get near the Aston down the straight.
I was going to say, Shields didn't do a best run across the top, and he's backed right off now, so it's up to Tracy here. The power of that TA2 Mustang fires down Cotterod straight, and unfortunately, troubles here for Stibbs. The front end of that car has been ripped off, and that's at the exit of Forest Elbow. I don't think Tracy is going to get this lap in because the red flag might be coming out here in just a moment.
Or they'll pull the checkered flag.
The car is on left-hand side there, so it might be all right. Tracy, it's still green. He's going to get this lap in. I don't know how much he'll improve, though, because it wasn't a personal best to the first or second sector, and it's not either for the final sector. Stays position number 5. Duggan goes up to 4th, so an improvement for him. Shields goes across the line. He will just get one more lap in here with 15 seconds remaining on the clock, although the checkered flag has come out on this session. And I would say they've come out slightly early because of this car that's parked on left-hand side. So cars going through frame. Here we go. Here's an oh, it's a kangaroo, unfortunately. Skippy's made his annual appearance once again, and unfortunately for Stibbs, had nowhere to go.
Well, it looks like it was Cheney that stopped, propped, and hit the Stibbs car. So actually, they didn't hit. I don't know if Skippy got hit at all. Skippy got away out of that one.
An awkward situation there at the exit of Forest Elbow, and That's one thing you've got to contend with here at Mount Panorama. It's about the only track in the world that kangaroos, it gets spoken about in the driver's briefing, and there's more trouble going on here as well.
Warwick Morris in the Porsche, off in the chase.
What a dramatic final part of this session that was just cut short by a couple of seconds because the car stopped on the exit of Forest Elbow. And some of these drivers are not going to get a clean lap in here at the end because of the yellow flags. And it means that Shields will stay on top of a 2 minutes 7.4, 1.8 seconds clear of the rest of the field with Lacey in behind him. Wow, take a breath. There was a lot going on there.
And it looks like Warwick Morris might have got away with no damage as well.
And if that's going to be the recipe for what we'll expect in race number 1 this afternoon, it is going to be chaotic to say the least. So it's Shields from Lacey 1 and 2, Hearn position number 3, from Duggan in 4th, Tracy position number 5, Gomersol in 6th. Then you go back to Donaldson, Sims and Taylor. That's the top 9. Rowell completing the top 10. Busy session. McMillan, you mentioned a moment ago, having not shown towards the top of the timesheets, in the end got to position number 12, so an improvement for him right at the back end there of the 30 minutes.
Some more cars just finishing off now. Duggan coming around.
So a busy one indeed for the second part of qualifying for the sports cars and sedans here this weekend at Mount Panorama, is playing in support of the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hour, and a busy end to that session before we go racing this afternoon. The first race for this category, 5 minutes past 3 this afternoon. 10 laps it'll be, or roughly about 30 minutes in terms of distance, and then they've got another 2 races coming up tomorrow as well. We'll quickly run you through the program for the rest of the day for those here at the track and watching via the live stream as well. We'll have a short break in proceedings. We'll be back for Ferrari Challenge qualifying for race number 1 at 1:30, and then practice 3 for the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hour at 10 minutes past 2. Then, like we mentioned, sports cars and sedans back on the track just after 3 o'clock, and race 1 of the weekend for the Ferrari Challenge at 5 minutes to 4. We'll round out the day with the bronze drivers only session for the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hour at 20 minutes to 5. Thank you very much for that, Garrett.
It's great fun.
Great fun as always. Hope you're enjoying it either on the stream or here at the racetrack on this Friday at the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hour.
Yeah.